shortest path to getting to main stage, and Razar Company could find themselves towards main stage far more likely if they do go atop the group. Falcons to defend first up. We go to border. It is their map pick. Razar will be attacking. This map is going to be a big one. PSG's life could be over in the next, 30 minutes to an hour.
Well, they're all optimistic in chat. There's been a lot of back and forth on our side screen in the lobby chat. It's covered over, but it's all been very positive. It's been very sort of cordial between the two teams, although this is an intense level of competition, although Falcons are on sort of danger's door.
Yeah, I mean, apparently PSG Talon passed by Razar in the hallway as they were all kind of like swapping computers and stuff, and they were like, come on, you got this, you got this. And I imagine PSG Talon, the team, everyone involved with PSG Talon, of course, will be watching this now intently. Good luck to you guys watching this. Have fun, heart and mouth kind of stuff, and that's what you want when it comes to an esport. You want these games to matter, and this one certainly does. For Falcons, of course, they'll be fighting for their own life, and all they need is the one map, and this is their map, Emmy. This is their pick, so they will be hoping to secure their map right here on border.
There's a weird element of this that it's almost a best of one on border.
Yeah, somewhat. It's like two best of one. It is literally like two best of ones.
Yeah.
As weird as that is to say.
And we're sort of enjoying in that moment, living in that moment, and seeing if they can try and break their way across. But it all begins here. Falcons, obviously, as you said, they're on towards their map. Now, in terms of how border plays, obviously, it plays well for attacking teams. You look at the sort of splits of this, and they're actually pretty balanced in terms of their attacking stats. However, Razah, they're one of the best defending teams in the entire tournament. Stats pulled, maybe not including the games that were played earlier on today, they're about 69% defensive win rate, which is...
That's pretty nice.
It's only second to, I think, FaZe, who are the only ones above that. So this opening half, if they start to make some ground and some distance, get themselves, an average split, they're looking in a pretty good stead to go against Falcons' 38% attacking win rate, which isn't quite as sharp.
So much quality on this Falcons roster. I mean, you think about Robbie, what he was able to do in Montreal, and a lot of hype on him coming into this particular tournament, and it would be a disaster for Falcons to get grouped. So there's a lot of pressure on them in this map, in this series. They've taken incredibly low. Good start for Razah. Asham also with a bit of an engagement on this top floor right now. Falcons just trying to take the contact early on against Razah and show that they do mean business and that they're not scared to take these fights, which is a good sign. They're not looking too hesitant to begin with here on defense. Then, as we said before, it's a win-win. Two best of ones. It's not ride or die on this map. You will still have another opportunity on Lair. The good news for Falcons is they don't have to win 2-0. Otherwise, you'd be quite fearful on both maps, as we see Flash Street trying to make the contact for Razar a little bit better by getting the kill onto Jalad, back of Armory. He's eventually finished off by Perez, and that's a good little double combo from Razar as they're actually able to make their way in. And from below, Live takes out Dov, who was very low. The Skeleton Key does just enough damage to finish him off.
Strong opener here, and they're going to see if they can keep putting the pressure as Paceto tempted and teased the kit, but pulled off. Don't know what they thought they saw or smelt in the air, but it might be an Echo Drone. No, that gets removed, and we are in. Oh, not even a post plant. He popped up. Robbie tried to go for the retake, but a flawless end there, and they are not messing around, Razah Company. They knew exactly what Falcons were doing there. As I said, they sort of juggled the kick going down, coming up, and I think all that jovial energy inside the old chat at the start. It's time for Falcons to sit forward. They got pushed aside a little bit there. Brush that one off. Restart and reset yourself. Bathroom Tellers is where we'll be heading onto next, but that was a very strong Razah opening round.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably not what you want if you're Falcons to get, what was it, a flawless in the end. And I think that when it comes to Falcons, they started the round looking as if they were happy to take these fights, try and deny those entry positions as you want to do on border. But alas, it was Razah who was able to get into key positions. The vert down below with the Skeleton Key successfully gets rid of Dov. Good entries from Perez and Flash Street playing off of each other. So again, it looked like Razah had more of that team communication than, say, Falcons, which was more of this, I'm just going to run around and see if I can find a pick early. Didn't quite work out. Falcons get nothing from the round, completely wiped out. Perfect start for Razah. And I think for Falcons as well, they probably won't have as many nerves on this particular map throughout the first half and then even into the second. But once we get to Lair, and then on Lair, say had Falcons lost this map of border, that's when the nerves kick in, because that's when the pressure kicks in. That's when you know you could be going home if you don't pick up a map. So Right now, everything's kind of gravy, but it will spiral pretty badly. They lose this map and then start poorly on Lair, and it could completely spiral out of control for Falcons. So starting well, starting early, and doing well early definitely has to be the makeup of what's going to get them out of this group stage in the right fashion.
Now, the first engagement. We'll see if it happens its way out. Perez happy to sit and wait as the spray goes a bit wide of anyone. There's obviously points of pressure that you can try and wrest control of here. Jalad holding on towards Eastern Stairs is maybe a first, but it's actually Dove that finds STK. They lose the Grim, they lose the Grimbees, the ability to put the pressure on, and the vertical stays in their control for now, but they're active. Dove is looking for the next fight. They want to keep pressing this advantage, and as the goo mine catches up the player that's getting closer and closer on the side of break, and door of CC itself. Now, there is gadgetry that will stop them as soon as they make their entrance. They don't entirely need to throw themselves towards this, but the time that Dove is sitting, waiting, and stealing as Perez finds one. Dove finds Filiastri. An immediate sort of swing back, but Perez threads the needle, and it's a 3 versus 3. Suddenly, Perez gets his third for the round. Even though they're on the back foot after some big heroics from Dove, Perez is refusing to let this one slip away. Now, he's only on the shoulder of a fight of Hashom. But if this goes away from Falcons, suddenly you have a 3 versus 1 with so much time, Jay.
Yeah, still a Nitrocell for guards. That has to get at least one. Good drone. Little bit of information on Hashem's position over towards Fountain, still top floor by himself. While there's the Nitro, unfortunately wasted by guards. Hashem still thinking about going for this pick, but Perez is just watching and waiting. Knows he's tucked in on the right side. Unfortunately, he does lose his life. It's 4 for Perez, but guards is able to at least get the down. Will stop that ace from transpiring. I think Jack will be happy about that one. And they drop down and they can hit the site. 50 seconds, plenty of time. And guards, half health. Could still make something of this. You can never count anyone out in a 1 versus 2. Yellow ping information does know where the plant is going down. Needs to win this battle. Can't. Rotates away. Takes the one over towards waiting. Live does well. And does very well. Holds his nerve, and they win out the 2 versus 1. Razah with a 2-0 start.
It was a good effort there. Obviously, you know, Dove started the round in, counting against a player like Perez, who's able to pull off a 4K throughout the round. You just can't prepare for that. It's always the statement of, how do you shut down a player that's on their day or on their round? You could have the best sight hold and the best prep in the world, but if they're firing true, then you just have to beat them, and that's tough. In that situation, being able to push up, pull the kill on towards Perez, and then aggressively move into a new situation, it was a good read from, obviously, Razah Company to move down, go for the plant, get themselves in. They knew where the player was. They knew it had been confirmed. They knew that they could sort of beat them into this position. Then he opted hit construction, almost found both kills in 2 separate 1 versus 1s. But limitations of ammo strike once again. 2-0 here, Razah. And as I said, the defense, technically and statistically, throughout this tournament has been better, but it is border. Right? If there is a map that's going to give Falcons a little bit more on the second half of it, it's probably their border.
Yeah, I think that you can always say, for Falcons, especially attacking on border, there's always going to be that hope that they could even turn around a 5-1 deficit going into that second half. But it's the added pressure, final day of groups, the odds of being eliminated. You don't want to then make mistakes. Border is just naturally a map. And if you're really good at attacking it, well, you can make a mistake really quickly, really easily, and it will get punished by Razah. Perfect start, though. Of course, Razah fighting just as much to finish atop the group, so they've got all the incentive to do very, very well in this matchup and try and put the beat down on the Falcons. The Falcons roster that has been languishing since their particular day off has not really returned with good form. And it has seen them now in this position. They would have not wanted to be in this position going into the final day, looking to just avoid the group. They would have preferred this to be a matchup to battle for first, for instance, but such is the way that the group stage has gone for them. In a really, really hot start, though, for Razah Company. And they will be the kind of team as well going into Phase 2 that no one's going to want to face because you just don't know what you're going to get. They'll be playing with house money as well going into Phase 2. No one expected them to have finished, say, atop their group. Imagine that happens. It will be a difficult prospect for teams moving forward, and they will be the real underdog Cinderella story. Perez 5-1 start. Again looking for contact, but that misses the head of Robbie, and guards will be the one to eventually open things up in this round.
And there's Jalad getting a second. SDK gone again. Perez, can he try and do the magic he made happen on the previous round? This time, look how surrounded he is by Falcons players. He's trying to isolate an engagement. They're not gifting it to him, but they have packaged the C4 over the top. There's at least one back for live, but again, Falcons great positioning here. They had all the cover of the players. They had the verticality, maybe a little bit overzealous. Razah trying to sort of break and bust their way in towards Archives, but it's not really amounted to anything here. Just sprays as they fall into the distance. 50 seconds. Great closeout from Falcons.
Well, you can see what it means to them. Well and truly. Yeah, slow start, first 2 rounds, not ideal, but you can see that's just got them amped up to win that 3rd round in such a dominant fashion. And that's also just probably a sigh of relief, too, for Falcons in that moment. It's like, okay, cool, because things were starting a little bit poorly. Things weren't starting that great. We got dominated, especially in that 2nd round. And then to flip that back immediately in the 3rd, win it so convincingly. Much better positioning. Good cover for everyone. They understood that if Razah are going to push in, they're going to push in as that team, so we need numbers in the same vicinity. Everyone felt like they were backed up. You know, for Robbie Archives, he's got players behind him. He's got players metal stairs. Like, there's players that can help him out. Player down below with the Nitro. So those positions are all covered by teammates. And Border's a relatively decent-sized map if you want to spread out, play that horizontal defense. There's a lot of the map that you do typically need to hold, which means that you're not always going to be covered. And also, everyone's kind of got involved over the last couple of rounds, too, for Falcons. You know, Robbie's typically the one that you look to as that sort of tip of the iceberg, that he can be that superstar standout as per Montreal. But Adolf, Jalad, Guards, Hashem on his day, they're all capable. See the scope boss in play here for the 4th round. Glass Blitz combo, though, for Razah could indicate, especially with that Ying, a bit of a fast hit.
Yeah, I'm sort of wondering what they're going to try and do here, because obviously last time we were on this site, they didn't opt to go back to Armory. They came to this site instead, and they went above, tried to fight the verticality, and then pulled themselves back towards the site itself. Remember, there wasn't really any Falcons players. It seems like Razah remember that just as well. It is bare bones here. Barren, almost. So why not? Push yourselves in. There's a bit of hard cover above. Pessetto drives all the way in. He's got the shield on his back, and they've just absolutely rinsed any of this hold. A plant with all 10 players up. Falcons, read like a book. And now the blitz, well, he actually gets knifed, but baiting some of the motion, trying to get the swing. Jalad does find Perez, but it's still a tricky retake. They've got to make sure that they have the coverage on the body. There's one, and another play against it. Deep from the fight on construction. The glass on the window is the potential nightmare. They've just got to try and throw themselves out, but there's cover for that as well. Jalad gets one more here. The pistol, they're waiting for the cover in the swing. 20 seconds, but they've got to be on it and undeterred at about 10.
Well, there's no more smokes remaining for SDK, so he can only just play this quite naturally. Inside of Telestovs, it's going to get on it right now. They're expecting the run out, and nicely done by Flashtree to play for that. He understood the mission. They were going to throw bodies from all directions. They had everything covered. Really well played as well from SDK on the glass, because initially, when they got the plant down, they lose the blitz immediately, Emmy. And then and then they lost another one, and suddenly, despite getting that plant onto the ground, they lost numbers really early, really quickly into that post-plant timer. And it gave away back in for Falcons.
I mean,
you can see what it means for them as well.
Yeah, we had Screaming the round before. We have Screaming once again. Razah, they're back in. They keep the sort of steps in the pressure. You know, it's not a million miles away that Falcons have a massive resurgence. Border is a game of 2 halves, as is any is Siege, but Border truer than most. But still, it was decent motions by Falcons to respond. As I said, great read by Razah. This is their hold. Let's just do this. Falcons, you know, they waited. The plant sort of came together, whether they were repositioning, whether they weren't aware. It doesn't really matter. Almost immediately after the kick goes down, within the next 5 seconds, 2 Razah players were dead, including the blitz that went for the plant itself. So there was obviously a reaction coming and cooking from Falcons. those exchanges, throwing themselves out, that's all you can do.
Yeah, and if you want to go back further, I mean, Falcons probably had to contest the initial plant a little bit better. There was just nothing offered. Smokes go in, Blitz goes in, plant goes down. Not a single nitro cell, nothing to combat the plant. I think they put too much emphasis on the post plant. We're moving to the 5th round, though. The Falcons were able to respond after the initial 2 rounds that they gave over to Razah. Can they find the response after picking up towers? Seto with a nice little drone to just spot them out over towards main hallway. East stairs pressure from both teams. And Robbie yet to get involved. 1 and 4. It's not to necessarily highlight that he's having a bad game, but to sort of highlight such a incredibly influential player for Falcons. Now, he can do a majority of his work in the second half on the attack with the entries. That's when I would anticipate he will be able to get more involved. But still, a 1-4 start for one of your, if not your actual top player, isn't helping them right now. They need him to get going to combat what is a Razar team that is full of confidence. But right now, stuck out in the exterior, unable to get anything further than a balcony position. The Falcons are doing well to just disrupt them from getting into the building.
Oh, yeah, 100%. They've made sure that there's a lot of pressure, a lot of space outside. They've got these long-range fights. Dov, obviously, being able to make some magic happen the previous round here. Has the dog, has the ability to keep himself up and tucked in this corner as long as possible and even maybe try and heal and dash himself. He really wants an engagement, but they're so ready for it that he couldn't risk sticking down, and he just gets out of there. Then he's escaped with his life. Think how much time has been taken, and you know, Robbie moves into a nearby position here, and he's been droned out, so he's now going to have to leave. But Razah haven't been able to get anywhere. The cost of drones.
Yeah, 2 drones left. Doesn't give them a lot of information now. Of course, it's Armory and Archives. You know exactly where they're going to be posted up, but you cannot ill afford if you run past someone and say still inside of security, which is where Robbie was before. He has now gone over towards Fountain. Perez, though, somehow gets the opening kill. Dov thought about being able to get that self-revive. Never going to happen, though. Down and now out confirmed. 2-player advantage for Razah. Almost a third through Flash Street. Guard somehow able to stay alive. Goes for the drop shot. Fails that one as well as the kid is now going onto the floor. At the hands of Basetto and Razah, though, they don't even have enough time to get the plant onto the floor because they just killed everybody. All too easy for Razah Company. Falcons torn to shreds, down 1-4. Not the start that they were hoping for on their map pick.
Surely General Timeout makes an appearance here. There you are. I mean, yes, things are sort of slipping away here. There's an intensity of this game. You can see the stress is sort of weighing on the players at this point. It is falling, not apart, but away. The motions of Falcons aren't horrible, aren't terrible. Great baiting and wasting of the time, but then just look how Razah Company respond. So sharp, so aggressive. They're winning out the 2 kills on Armory Door. Shouldn't really be happening in that situation. You can contest the position, right, but you know, he didn't even really have to transfer the crosshair too much to be able to pick up the next. And from those 2 kills, from holding them off for 2 minutes brilliantly, it just gives them that direct route through in towards the site itself. And they're a team that is so capable of exploding their way through. Perez and Live especially getting themselves off to a massive, massive start here.
I mean, I thought their ability to deny entry and have good map control denial, so not allowing Razah to get into these key positions, was great. Falcons were playing well in that round for a large portion of it, and yet they just got decimated. Like, when it came time to enter, Razah just had better gunners, better shooters. And then they also had the extra caveat, as kind of touched on. Basetto was still getting the plant down.
Yep.
And that would have been successful had they not just killed everyone.
I mean, that's it. They got the kit down twice in 2 of their round wins. They were putting the kit down in the other 2, both on Armory.
You could give them the tick for that round.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, you know, they have been in direct control of the game, both from an objective point of view and a killing point of view.
I will say, though, for Falcons, I do wonder if they could have been a little bit more aggressive. There was a moment when Dov crosses back over from security, gets himself in towards Armory, and then Robbie backfills in towards security, does nothing, and then just goes to Fountain. At that point, with a minute left in the round, do you want a bit more of that forward contact, force the fight towards security, see if Robbie can catch someone off guard? Because they just saw Dov run in towards Armory. They might not have then been anticipating the backfill from Robbie. Instead, he just doesn't do anything, goes Fountain, they give up security, get overwhelmed.
I think that's sort of the swing and the point of it as well, is they obviously lost the bodies on the Armory Door. They done so well to hold off security and so well to hold off CC, and then they tried to sort of reposition themselves, but Razah Company was just in the right place. Oh no. They're caught out entirely. The Melusi is going to do their best, but there's somebody else there as well. They still get the kill.
What?
Good effort, guards, but there might be another trade coming through if Perez doesn't know about the player. Tucked in the box, it's a Shom.
This is the thing with the new changes to like Blitz, for example, as Hashom up close left gets the kill onto Perez. I feel like Blitz players are still so used to being such a powerful offensive weapon.
Yep.
At that point, communicate with your team. There's someone that's going to kill guards in the next 2 seconds. You don't need to continue to push forward. Hold steady, keep yourself alive. Your teammate will get the kill. You don't need to. Seto could have stayed alive there.
Well, they're able to level things up, but you sort of look at the trade and the cost here. There's still good late utility on the side. Obviously, losing the Legion is a bit of a blow. It's Robbie as well. The Banshees will probably all be out there already. But then you've still got the smokes, the C4 opportunity. Dove can sort of play against the blinds of the Ying as well. They have themselves set up for counters. There's the smokes, which is all just Dove's playing field right now. He's the sort of make or break, and he's been playing the best for Falcons so far. The blinds come across. There's the roll through. There's players underneath. Will this be a C4 put on sandwich window?
Woo!
No, but it's awarded. As I said, you know, he is the perfect player to be in this position. He's a little bit early on his losing of the second. They know exactly where he is. They have to close him down in 2 versus 1 before support starts to show. But you can see them opening up angles underneath. They're trying to watch and stop any of this approach. There's the spray through, and he is surviving for much longer than he should have. But a valiant fight that leaves Live also very injured.
Now, no more gas canisters for Jalad, and Hasham, of course, on the Arun. He's not going to offer too much either. You've got 4 smokes available for Razar Company between SDK and Live, along with, of course, the Inox scanner. So information onto Hasham's position. Still got the gridlock stingers too as well, as Live does get the kill onto Hasham. 3 in the round for him. It's all down to Jalad. Does get the down onto the Jackal, and with that now creates a 1 versus 1 going into the final 20 seconds of the final round of the half. SDK could put a nail, at least one, into the coffin. Jalad, though, hoping that that does not happen as they continue to go back and forth, left and right here through the windows, and the shotgun from Jalad is oh so perfect. Desperately needed that one.
I mean, as narrow as you like, when you have sort of 2 people about 5 feet apart, trying to get the catch on each other. One's on a door, one's on a window. The window player obviously has a little bit more to work with. Oh, it baits him out on the blitz. I mean, speak your piece. You said it before. It wasn't, you know, brilliant Blaze play, but hey, Guard's going to see if he can sort of back up the words and bring it on the second half here. 4-2. More than possible to bring this one back. Obviously, they have used their timeout as well. So at this point, it's just sort of smooth sailing.
There's something about Blitz. I think there might have been some explicitives as well.
Well, Guards is now on the Blitz. So he might be about to demonstrate how the operator is supposed to be used, I think, is the idea. No, they've changed off, actually. And I was going to say they have the shield, but both shields have changed off. Robbie, going from the Blackbeard to a Nook, 2 very different theoretical approaches here. You've got a lot of potential spatial control. You obviously got the Dockerby and the Lion to maybe limit things. There's no catch on the rotations or the chance of somebody coming up behind you, but that is what Robbie is probably going to want to do, right? Get the Nook into a position, maybe bottom east, maybe around waiting area. Hope that you can sort of force them to rotate, pick up a kill, reveal the Nook's existence, and then be that problem. Who needs an air jab when you have Robbie potentially around a corner? Perez might be the first point of pressure here, as was before. CC and security is often an initial lockdown, a lot of damage, a lot of chance to spray, the removal of the barbed wire, so it's a bit easier to approach, but again, will the cost of the drones be as high?
Just some numbers as well. Live 9-3, actually a plus 22 KD, plus 4 entry with 120 EPS throughout the tournament so far. He's actually been one of the best performant players at the tournament, and he's doing so again here in a pretty crucial match against Falcons. As for their opponents, though, Jalad, much better performance in this game. Guards with the opening kill against STK, and a second foul onto Live. Dolph losing his life as we got to watch that one as Perez cleans him up from a distance. Jalad with a big kill as well onto Perez, and it's just back and forth shooting around border. That is this map in a nutshell, Emmy.
Well, there's the Nook activating, finds one on the back, and suddenly it's just Basetto alone. The calls are coming through. They have the site controls. They can probably go for a plant, but they want to push for the kill. fair enough. It's a win condition, just as valid, and it's one where you know you have the momentum. Well, there is a very energetic
very amped up
Falcons roster. And it was a really, really great push. So the timing there from Falcons' position, they obviously knew there was a player around break. They wanted to try and force them out. It was the crossfire from the sort of CC doorway, the break doorway, and down long as well. Top of East stairs. I'm not sure what eyes, if any, Razah Company had there. But that was where, I believe, Guard was, where he was able to get the double kill, cutting his way across. Now we have the 2 shields once again. Will they stick it this time? Because that was, I mean, it was sharp from the side of Falcons.
Tell you what, PSG Talent fans that are listening and watching right now, how are you feeling? How are you feeling?
Nervous.
I would be beside myself. Yeah, Falcons 4 rounds away now from sending PSG Talent home. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
Razah 3 rounds away from giving them hope. A lot of hope. On defense border, I think you mentioned it in the first half or in the pre-show, Emmy, about Falcons on the attack on this map. You know, that's where they're going to be very deadly. It's also where I expect a player like Robbie to really get involved. You know, he's the kind of player that could be 3-5 or 4-6 and then get in the attack of border and end up finishing the game 12-8, you know? That's where he's going to be very impactful. So I'm looking to someone like Live, who's been the by far and away best player for Razah Company throughout our side group stage, to continue to perform. A lot of pressure on him as an individual. I mean, Paris has been great so far in this game. Others need to stand up, and playing some key roles, Flashtree and Passetto on the Warden and the Smoke. These are the kind of rounds that they need to be impactful with their utility. Guards on the Blitz. Blackbeard involved. A double shield set up here by Falcons. Occupy, Grim, they can certainly pick up the pace here, and I think Falcons will do that. That's what they certainly can be known for at their best, their ability to control their pacing, move at a pretty early point, minute and a half, minute 40. They can start to hit you pretty quickly, and you might not be ready for it.
Where will that first strike come from? As I said before, it was so well timed from the side of Falcons. They knew when to operate, and here it is, making their way directly towards the Oryx, blinding him and dropping him with the pistol as well. They're pushing in towards Fountain, but the crossfire is there too for Razah, though. One is down, Live. He's hit the ground, and Dov keeps the pressure on, the finishing, and suddenly it's a 2 versus 2. Again, all over the map and all around, there seems to be an absolute rout.
I feel vindicated, though, Emmy. Didn't I say that they can just go at any moment? Well, this time they chose a minute 50. We've still got 90 seconds left in the round, and this is the benefit of going early into these rounds, is that naturally you can slow it down now. 2 versus 2, it's a whole new round. It's a whole new game, new key positions that need to be won, new missions that you need to go on. Nitrocell avoided, that's big. Or is it breaching round, sorry, or, you know, whatever. I thought for a second it was someone down below, but 3 gas babes for 4 Passetto. So you still got something here. The Fenrir is still up as well with the F-Naught mines that can be played around. So by no means is this easy for Hashem and Dov, but I like a Blackbeard here in a 2v2. The Blackbeard's going to be very influential as long as they play together.
Now, the later this goes on, obviously, the more sort of power is in the pockets of Razah right now, because when they're planting, someone's going to have their gun down for 7 seconds, and it's a long one. So they're keeping themselves at arm's length. They tuck themselves close in. The Blackbeard just holding the tight angle. Very clever. Now, you've got to try and maybe fight the vertical, but that is what Blackbeard does. The smoke was out of reach. Great, great bit of motion there from the pair, and they had to watch.
What are you looking at? We will teach you how to play fast, and Falcons absolutely are a master team at playing fast. Minute 55 on the clock. They hit above, and they hit it fast. But what is Passetto looking at the end? You've got Yellow Ping left side. You know the other's right side. And his crosshairs just in the middle of the hallway, not looking at anything. You need to be inch perfect at this level. I love the pace, though, from Falcons. They back themselves in. That is a wonderful set play for the duo, too, as well, with the Blackbeard in front. As I said, in that 2v2, I saw the Blackbeard, and I liked what I saw, and I felt like Falcons were ahead because of it. That's the power of BB. 4-4. Falcons are looking very strong here. Sorry to say, Toan fans, but it's very much now hold on for dear life and pray that Razah can turn things around. 2 rounds into this half, and 2 rounds that Live has been ineffective on the defense now. He's been your best player for Razah Company. He needs to start getting involved.
I mean, that's it. 3 rounds now in a row, and as you said, Razah played that perfectly. It seemed like, you know, the Oryx trying to get out on towards 90 corner, having to dash through the wall like it wasn't fully prepared for him. He got a little bit stuck and slowed. Yeah, they traded out immediately, but it was like a couple of these pieces show how important they are, if not entirely prepped up and set up, pulling themselves away. It was a good sort of read and drive from the side of Falcons, but it will only take a second for things to maybe fall away. It's something where they know that they want to try and keep the pressure, get some of the control. It came down to a 2 versus 2. They played it brilliantly, but it could, by one smoke canister, being an inch further forward and hitting that mark, be, you know, post-plant, pre-plant, it's all the deciding factors. They're trying to isolate the player inside CCTV and security. They have Robbie on the upside down rappel in case he tries to cross the divide towards Armory. Perez is sort of backed into a corner here. Can they try find a way to cut him off? SDK is offering some support. Seto does find Dove on the outside, and well, he's looking to see if he's tested inside the office as well. Robbie realizes he can't just sit in a rappel forever. They've got to try and find a new route in, Falcons.
And if Falcons want to play fast, I think the best counter to that for Razah is to play off-angle positions. You know, they're hitting everything pretty directly. Security in towards Fountain, Armory, etc. But what happens if you play something a little bit different, a little bit more off-meta, even if you're just sitting like top waiting or play break room or even passport and then eventually rotating back up these stairs, playing in different areas where they won't expect you, where they won't find you, then you're into these off positions that can catch Falcons when they're out of position. Hasham slowly but surely over towards bot metal, making his way up, getting the free drone, barbed wire in the way. There is one close by though, and does get the kill onto SDK, caught completely unaware of the positioning of Hasham. Perez does get one onto guards. This feels like the moment in which Falcons as a team coordinating their attack, starting to make their pushes, starting to see if they can poke and prod this defense of Razah, but not necessarily that effective. Certainly not the same as the previous round. Robbie towards security. Lovely shot against Flash Street, but traded. Perez was close by. Keeps the advantage for Razah.
At this point, 45 seconds, and Falcons are still trying to keep the pace up. They're still trying to show them how to play fast. They make sure that they're not coying and being shy when things start to filter away, slowly leaping their way up center stairs, spraying through, gives a bit of the position away, but I think you expected it. Again, the pressure of time here, and what do they have to cross the divide? 2 flashes. That is it at this point. So it's Gun trying to get in towards Armory, get the cover, and Perez is the man that they've got to cut out of this, but he's been playing very well. You can see this approach, as I said, on towards this door. This is the only place they could try and get some solid control. There's the flashes, but he pushes in towards the fight. The cover's there from Basetto, and without needing the timeout, they're able to stop the flow of Falcons rounds and retake the lead.
Yeah, better from Razah Company in terms of just being a little bit more prepared for the faster hit from Falcons. Falcons actually slowed down their own attack that round, probably because if you go fast 2-3 times in a row, you'll become predictable. So Falcons can't necessarily do that every single round. Otherwise, it's just too easy for the defending team to set up. You know, if you're just playing the same way every single time. And so Falcons kind of slow things down a little bit. But they still hit around that minute 10, minute 20 is when they wanted to try and poke and prod at Razah. But Razah were far more prepared for that particular play style. You know, the irony in all of it is Falcons actually kind of gave over some choice words regarding if you want to play fast, we'll teach you how to play fast. And then they slow it down the very next round. When playing fast has worked for them in the opening 2 rounds. They slow it down, things don't work out.
I think they tried to play fast. It's the first, like, you know, we didn't get the view of how the first kill came together, but we saw Basetto making his way back into office. I'm wondering if they leaned out at the top of these stairs. It was my sort of, not my complaints, but my questions before. It seemed like the position was quite easy to get. It allowed them to get the crossfire, and that was Falcons' first step, right? That was their first way into the building, as it is, to be fair, with a lot of teams getting control. Maybe Basetto sort of stepped in, shook that, and suddenly they've now got to replan, redesign. That's when Robbie gets off the rappel, rotates around, and that's 30 seconds, regardless of where he's going. But can they try and find a similar way to shape the approach? The same way that we can compliment how, you know, Razah were able to read Falcons' defense. There's always the chance for Falcons to do that, but when you're on the successful sort of front, you go, right, well, what do we do here? Well, we've got the Blackbeard back. We've got Hasham in this position. We're still going to try and fight against it. They've got more limitations on the use of utility, with Mozzie doing his best to hold down inside security, keep his own eyes on the control of CC. There's sort of the play and bait and wait, and he knows that Falcons play this info and then close down game of...
Yeah, Pretty default setup from Falcons this round. So you bring double hard breach with the Blackbeard. Your pacing can't necessarily be that quick. You're going to be playing off of the Lion and the Dockerby in terms of the information they can provide. So when that utility is used, such as the Logic Bomb, there's your entry point. EE1D, there's your entry point. So you're kind of playing off of those a little bit because you've got these kind of slower operators and slower style. Unless, of course, Razar Company want to present for you. This could be the kind of round that may have a slower pace to it. You know, minute 40, still 5 versus 5. Peseto's just holding E stairs. He doesn't need to over-contest. He doesn't need to over-swing. You're playing the Legion. Keep yourself alive. Keep those goo mines generating throughout the round and make this a bit more of an impenetrable area of the map. Keep E stairs as control. Deny above. And so far, Razar doing all of that very well. That's the final Logic Bomb. And no more EE1Ds. So a lot of that entry utility now has been expended just to basically get security control.
Yep. Minute 10 here. All 10 players still standing. Maybe the longest that we've had this in a while. The kit being attempted to be planted as well. And wondering at this point what Falcons' first step in is. That's a good potential one. The C4 does
damage.
Yeah, a bit of damage to Hashom. Not enough to knock him out, but they'll sort of pull the catch and whoa! Perez turns onto Robbie on a dime, gets the drop onto him, and that is a huge, huge kill, which could be a determining factor in how this round starts to play out. They break their way round. At this point, Falcons desperately trying to grab just a loose Razah player. Here is the potential fight for Jalad to level things up in the final 30 seconds, and he's a scrappy spray back and forth, but he didn't need to take it. SDK does, though. Gets Dove guards. Ringing around to the side of Fountain, but the other players, they learnt the lesson and they've dropped down.
Yeah, I mean, you just don't need to peek that if you're Peseto. You're holding very nicely. 20 seconds left now. Falcons trying to force this one. Otherwise, Razah will find themselves on map point. Hashem's still on the Blackbeard, so he's got at least some kind of protection. The drop coming down. Nitrocell, the only one that Live has, the only one that Razah has, opens up the wall, but he can't see him because of the bathroom. Plant goes down successfully. SDK tried to rush it. Live in a better position. Does get the trade, but it's a post plant.
Rotating their way up in the Blackbeard. Drops for the fight. He didn't need to. He had a support of Jalad on the shoulder. And oh, there was a few decisions from both teams throughout that round that have a scratch in our heads, but I mean, Razah Company at least get the benefit of winning it out eventually. And now they sit on map point, on Falcons' map, 6-4. Now, Falcons have been able to thread rounds together before, but they do not have their timeout this time. Their 3 rounds came on the back of it. They have 2 opportunities, Razah, to set themselves up for the 2-0. The difference is a quick one. If they end up winning this game in the 2-0 and getting top of the group, that guarantees them at least top 12, which is a difference of, I think, $75,000 to about $50,000 for the set underneath them.
It was definitely one of the more scrappy rounds between the two. I think that you can't always associate pace, or fast pace at that, with scrappiness, because a lot of the pace rounds that we've seen from both teams when they've elected to go that way have been pretty clinical. Like, they haven't made a lot of mistakes. They've been very swift and calculated, but that was the kind of round where it really just felt jumbled up from both teams even. Falcons, of course, they lose Robbie, not ideal early on, and then you haven't really cleared enough above because you never really got, you know, proper armory, archives, control, office, for example. You only really got security on your early entry, so you didn't have a lot of that map control. Then you have to just kind of send it in towards bathroom, hope for the best, and then somehow the plant goes down because the Nitro Cell doesn't go through the wall, it only blows up the wall, and then he can't get the kill because of the bathroom tiles, but obviously then he can't really go anywhere, and so he can just send a teammate in, get the kill, and that just becomes this kind of one-for-one trade of which Razah have the extra numbers. They can win in that fashion. But like Peseto going back as well, Poppy stairs, you don't have to take that battle. Just keep control of the stairs. Fall back, fall back. You're playing Legion, goo mines, delay. But I think he just didn't want to allow them to get into office and play the hatch. Understand that. So he feels like, I've got to take the fight. Hashon, by the way, has him pinned down on the very east stairs, but Peseto's going to get away.
Well, in this moment, Perez does get Robbie, and Robbie's shut down. There's a good response. It's almost 2 gifts again. Not quite looking in the right direction. Obviously, we didn't see how the Robbie fight fell out, but it was early enough to, I assume, be a peek deep from CC and then returned onto break. Okay.
It's only the 4th opening kill that Razah Company have had in this entire game.
Wow. Well, for being able to convert it, now the pressure is onto Falcons.
Converted the other 3, so 100% conversion rate, 4 versus 4.
The smoke gone. Bait on time is going to be something that can be played with more by the Shield, especially. We hear their own deploy. Jalad trying to get himself a bit of a distance here as Perez is holding onto a fight live, sitting, waiting. Not entirely sure what that smoke is covering other than Fiastri's eyes, but there wasn't any movement behind it. Falcons, they've got themselves in towards Office. They're trying to get the step on towards Fountain itself. SDK is the fight back, though, and he was ready for it. Guards gone. They lose the Blackbeard now. A 3 versus 4 here for Falcons to try and keep themselves alive on their map.
Yeah, there's a couple of bulletproof cameras as well set up, and losing Robbie early with those Bud drones not being employed, those will stay up for Razah, so they're going to have really good information towards the site. Hashem's in a world of hurt towards Custom. I mean, just completely outnumbered, surrounded, and with that, it seems as if the round, and therefore the map, is falling away from Falcons. Razah on the verge of claiming the opening map of this series, but hey, Dov has other words. Jalad from above, and Live is already down with Fiastri going as well. It's down to Perez in a 1 versus 2. Huge flip of the round for Falcons, heading into the final 30 seconds. Perez with it all to do. With PSG Talon in their corner, they will him to win this very round, but he's got 2 players that are holding very strong with much higher health pools, and indeed, Jalad comes in to save the day and keep us alive on border.
I mean, what a playback from the 2 Falcons players there. That should have been bookend closed onto the next map, but refusing to give up and a timeout now. I mean, it's a risk, but it's something the coach wants to tell the team at this point. The same is offered as always here. Was it a 5 against 2? No, it was a 4 against 2. There's the kill and break earlier that just fell apart there, and I mean, a bit tragic of a round for Razah, but fully credit.
Yeah.
On towards Falcons, and obviously of getting the opener, getting himself towards the close. Was it Jalad as well?
Oh, 6-5, another match point opportunity for Razar Company. A map point, of course, this being a best of 3. Another map after this. Still never got to actually see how Robbie died so early. I don't know if it was a spawn peak or if it was like an accidental spray that just connected with him. It's been a very entertaining match, though, between these 2 teams. I mean, I don't think there's a lot really between them. I think they're at a pretty similar level. They've both got also very similar qualities, too.
Oh, yeah. Great gunners, very aggressive teams as well. They love to move around the map. They love to...
It's fun to watch. It's not always the most, you know, methodological siege. You're not going to probably get like the super highest quality, but what you're going to get is entertaining. It's fast, it's fun.
It's also a little bit do or die, and that's the main thing. Now, if this map is won by
series
Razah,
is do or die.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't end the run for Falcons. Who is currently at the biggest amount of danger is PSG Talon. Because if one map goes into the favor of Falcons, that is it. There is still more to potentially
play. Yeah, but if one map goes to the Falcons, Razar Company can't finish top.
Exactly.
So it's, you know, it's Razar and PSG Talon, their fates are intertwined with the exact same result required.
So BDS are also sat watching this. And Dark Zero, I think, dropped down from second regardless of what happens. Yeah, we were running mini league numbers.
I don't think DC is going to hold on to second.
No, there was like, I don't know, it was very complicated at that point. We asked Jesse.
I also
Jesse
don't think BDS
sweating.
are as intently worried as, say, a PSG Talon. If they finish second, they finish second. But
a difference of 12th place minimum. But this round, what will be the push? It's a traditional one. Guards on the Ossa, trying to get her just inside the door on the plant. A C4 and the smokes will be the perfect cover. So the cover has to come from Jalad and Hasham on those windows. Sandwich at an AC. Now there is potentially Robbie going underneath, but there's the deploy, there's the motion, there's the roll, and well, they held off. Now Live, you've got to loose the EMPs, C4s. Nitro. They're both stuck, but they're not going to be able to be popped off. They've got to swing and put the pressure on because they rolled the EMPs to perfectly cut the C4s. Falcons, using the utility juggling, have been able to pull it together, but There's still the chance at getting themselves caught out here. The gun barrel reveals the position. You know they're going to be watching the rotate up the stairs itself. There's at least one back for SDK, but it is such a hard retake, especially with all the Ossa shields still in place. Busetto, all that's left, gets one out the window, but no further. Falcons, with the guys of a Thatcher doing their best, are able to pull that one, and we go into OT.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a wonderfully well-executed set play by Falcons. Feels like that one came straight out of the strategy book, didn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Razar Company just had no direct answers. They only had one Nitrocell anyway, and it was on the mute, and he lost his life. I think it was live, trying to come close by to the Ossa, and the EMP is, of course, going out. But, yeah, naturally, that's going to be the thing that's going to help you. Zami smoking below, says Dov. Not sure what that means. I didn't know Zami. Yeah, okay. But either way, it felt like to me that Razah weren't set up for that particular hit. And clearly Falcons, you know, felt as if that was going to be their win con, which was Ossa in, Archives, get the shield down.
I think I worked out what it means. They were relaxing underneath.
Relaxation time at 6-5.
They weren't quite paying as much attention as I think Falcons think they should have been.
Maybe.
To stop it. I mean, if they were, who knows? But it's also a mind game, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's to sort of say, yeah, you specifically, Azami, you messed that up.
The Falcons have double attack here as well, so sorry to say for PSG Talon, but I think you could just about be going home.
If they can get this first one, they'd obviously pull themselves into the lead for the first time this game. They've been on the back foot the whole time, which gives us a different test of Razah as well. Obviously, Falcons, they won their first series on the opening day, had a break, and then couldn't find a series win since then. If it's taken 2 days for them to rebuild, this could be the moment. And, well, in the immortal words said earlier on, if you want to see how to play fast, I'll show you how to play fast. They are ready here. Hashom is going to be the tip of that potentially onto the sandwich window. There's the break. Are they aware of it to his right? Oh, not enough. They do at least get a C4 kill. The down comes out. Hashom gets one. A second C4 does offer some support, but they're still battling. There's still a chance here for them to keep the trades up and keep them leveling. They have grabbed on to some of the control on Armory, but oh, that was almost around for him. He pre-fired the wrong angle, but well, they're a bit slow to react, and now a 4 versus 2. Not impossible. It has been achieved before.
But they don't have a Blackbeard this time. You got a Flores. It's not quite the same. And a ridiculous amount of time and information that's already been gained by Flaustri. That's going to be an easy kill onto Robbie. Knows where the last player is. Everyone now for Razah can start to converge on this location. Yes, he loses his life, but Dolph now makes his way up top metal stairs on very low health. Razah on the verge of once again getting themselves into a match point scenario, at least for the next 2 rounds. 2 opportunities, unless Dolph pulls off one of the more insane clutches. With such a small sliver of health remaining, he needs to take out 3 members of Razar Company, and he's got a minute to do it.
Just trying to find an inroad, and there's almost this moment where we've seen Razah lean into fights they probably shouldn't have taken before. If you're a Razah fan or a PSG fan, you're probably hoping that they just stay together for now. Do not give Dov an opportunity, and they don't. He's very good at taking them. They get their first attack. I'm going to assume that we are now going to go to Vent. It's the site that they're able to win twice on their defense. Falcons, they're pretty locked in down here, 2 for 2. They might try and throw things out because obviously if it becomes an obvious position, but there it is.
Emmy, every single time we cast.
I know. What is this? Because it doesn't happen with me and Hap.
It doesn't happen with me and Guz. He messaged me again this morning.
Oh really?
He's not happy.
Guys, I'm so sorry. Actually, I could make it even worse and just reveal the information that I moved on to all of your and Guz's games.
That's even worse for him.
To sort of, so he would have 100% been on every single game that you've been on. He would have been on. So well, I'm so sorry, guys.
Razah need to finish this off though. They get themselves a bit of a lifeline because that second half comeback from Falcons was quite impeccable. Clearly, their attack on buildup much better than their defense. Now, alas, they have to win a defensive round to get yet another opportunity to close this out on attack for Falcons to get the one and only map that they actually need. For Razah, they need the 2-0 if they want to finish top this group. Falcons, they need a map which would secure their spot in Phase 2 and send PSG Talon home. Big round. Could be big rounds, of course, if Falcons can somehow win defensively here. What does Razah have here on the attack? They were taunted by Falcons. Falcons saying, if you want to play fast, we'll show you how to play fast. Well, I wonder if Razah might just up the tempo, but to be completely honest, I don't think the lineup they have this round says they will.
Well, they've gone back to their original lineup for taking this site. They sort of tried it, didn't like it, moved on to the Jackal, the Gridlock, the Blitz, and the Ying. Didn't like that either. That was their attempt at going fast that was mocked, I think is the easiest way of putting it. So, slow it down. They're trying to find these angles, trying to find these opportunities, and maybe hope that Falcons, as we said, similar teams, they're the ones that get a little bit antsy, a little bit active, and potentially a little bit pulled away from this round itself. There's an encircling of the CC position, as we've said and seen many a time. A bit of a read here on towards the verticality. But otherwise, again, none of these engagements being entirely offered as of yet. A long fight and a ping. The C4 going a bit wide, but Dove with the cover from Sandwich. Great movement from Falcons. They saw opportunity. They felt it in the winds. So they threw 3 people to pay attention to it because now they have a 5 versus 4.
Yeah, and still not a lot of map control either. No space gained here for Razah Company on the attack. It's all this balcony, window, doorway, peek-ins. They're hoping Falcons maybe go for an overpeek. Paceto now in towards waiting. He's the only one making his way through break. That's inside of the building. He needs to get others involved as well. Gumine stepped on by Flashtree. Just over a minute left. Paceto losing his life to Hashem, watching from underneath the hatch. It seems as if a 15th round will very much be required as Guards gets the kill onto live. It is Razah Company once again proving failure to find an attacking round where it's utmost needed, as Falcons will send us to all 15 rounds on border. They are 1 round away from sending PSG Talon home.
Could it be any more tense? It's either...
How's the heart rate, Fabian?
Someone check. I mean, it's either a Korean team going home at this point, Falcons...
After beating BDS as well.
Beating BDS.
What's even worse as well, Emmy, is if they had have won 2-0, there could have been room for a Falcons 1 map in a 2-1 loss.
If they'd have won the max overtime map that they played against Falcons and even lost the whole series.
If, ends, and buts.
We've only got what's ahead of us.
What is it? Could have, should have, would have?
Could have, should have, would have.
Yeah.
Didn't have.
Didn't have. Well,
7-7.
It all comes down to this 1 round. Of course, now, if Razah do win this, Falcons get another opportunity.
They do.
In Lair on the next map. But this would at least be crisis averted. For now, if you're a Talon fan, the Talon, of course, themselves, who I'm sure are watching this and with bated breath as to see how this round is going to finalize. Razah will need to find a defensive round. So far, they've won Bathroom and Tellers twice, Armory Lockers once. Falcons have been so impressive on their attacks. Their pacing has been tremendous.
Falcons have a lineup that is very good at dealing with how Razah likes to play. Said before, the control of the motions that they make. Hashem on the Dockerby just getting that sort of driven intel that they instantly feed towards the gun of Dove especially, but Guards on the Blackbeard very confident to make his way through. Yeah, sure, Robbie, the once upon star player, hasn't quite been as shiny throughout this tournament so far, but if you're a Falcons fan, probably still happy with the performance he's been able to pull together. Now STK might be the forefront. They're trying to drive them in towards a fight elsewhere. The drones are rolling around. We've seen some plays before, and it's the Blackbeard that sort of says hello.
like Michael Myers just peeking at you through the window, but you can't really do much about him. He's the boogeyman. Oh, that can do something, though. That shuts down the Blackbeard. Huge kill from Basetto and opens up the door, the pathway for Razah to get themselves this very map as Dov falls. Suddenly, Falcons are capitulating in the 15th round, and they are getting slaughtered on border. PSD, Talon, and say reprieve. For now, you are still alive as Razor Company take border 1-0.
Well, we get to stay on the edge of our seats at least one map longer. It is not done yet for Falcons or PSG or Razor or BDS or Dark Zero. We have so much that can still be filtered. And this one needed every single round, and I'll tell you what, not just the prediction of you and I, but also these two teams, Jake, I have a feeling the next one probably will as well.
Yeah, I mean, nothing changes now heading into Lair. We're just basically doing it all again. Razar still need the map. Falcons still need a map. It's why we said in the pre-show, Emmy, these are basically two best of ones. One down, one to go.
Well, I don't want to waste any more time. Let's go to a break so we can get back into the next.
Available now.
Back it up, back it up. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this.
Back it up, back it up.
Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this.
Back to the back to the back to the back to the back.
Take it back, take it back. Back it up, 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 back it up. Take it back, take it back. Back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this.
Back it up, back it up.
Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this.
Back to the back to the back to the back to the back.
It's about time.
One more song. You choose.
I've got just the one.
And now with 24 seconds left to go, Lair has to make a deep rotation, finding one though on the J1 a shot, and this is why he's the demon. Lair finding three!
Low HP bodies on each respective side. Uno, he's getting aggressive. That suppressor is shown. It might help you out a little bit, but oh my god! Good for one here, and should be onto Bullet. Getting that plant down. Alan out to the bottom. To the yellow pig as well! Yay for Alan!
The Psycho kill as well. They're just pushing for the fight. He's on the back end. But one versus one with a demon!
Excellent patience here from CAG. Shuri holding it down, taking some damage. Blaz sticking the plant, not falling off. He commits, and Shuri gets the down. Go to, so why not? Oh!
And if the overextension comes in from Lender, he might get a chance. Can he hit his shots? Yes! Lands the first, hits the second.
Do not die. Don't give them the 1v1. Oh, what have you done? You've died. C4 goes in. Do at this point. Can converge on his position. He's got to be ready for this. The ace has got a whip. He somehow does. Can finish this. Surely land the C4.
Shut down now by Newers. Wary about these frost mats that could be sitting under the windows as well as this angle below gym wall. Newers now the last man standing. He's good for 4 as well as the ace.
Two people have to come here and nothing to respond from Fatal. But can they get the case back down? Gomez taking a fight. He gets He can run back up on it. Skimsy isn't alive any longer.
Well, what a way we get here, hey? Every single round was needed. Every single one felt like it could go either way. That was just the opener of the series, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very fun game as always. We're getting all the banger matchups, Emmy, and this one going all 15 rounds required, yet ending up with the result that Razah needed, that PSG needed, that Falcons didn't need, and yet it came down to one singular round. I mean, that's as entertaining as it's going to get, especially on the final day of group stage. So, look, we're in for a series now. It comes down to this map. This map's going to set it all off. If Falcons do win this map, dare I say, on a personal level, I feel like the third map might be a little bit like dead rubbery. It won't matter too much.
Yeah.
But this map matters a lot. And so that at least, you know, if that third map does become a dead rubber, that's okay because this map matters so much. And so this map of Lair coming up is going to mean a lot for Falcons, for Razah, for BDS, and for PSG Talent. So 4 teams from this group are all affected by this one single map coming up.
And what a map. I mean, yeah, it's just like the only people who are sat chilling right now is DZ.
Yeah, because they can't do anything. I'll finish the...
They're just like, what, you know, Case Razar. There is one thing I've heard from Fresh on the news, Fresh on the beat. Fabian is not watching this series because he cannot take it.
He can't take it.
The stress is too high. And to be honest, if you flip PSG's performance, if they opened with the wins and then started to slow down, you'd probably be a little bit more reserved about it.
Yeah.
But Falcons have played out of their skin the past 2 days. They're on the up and up. For it to sort of end in a whimper would be almost regrettable, but at the same time, Falcons, they're sort of the flip side. They started strong, struggled, and as you can see here, bounced back. Dov, huge game. Robbie and Hasham not quite able to fully activate, but same time, you know, you're missing STK. You're not quite having the split there. So, I mean, Perez 18 to 10, 80% cost.
Yeah, absolutely tremendous performance from Perez. 5 opening kills for just the 2 opening deaths gives him a +3 entry. The only one that was close to that was Dov. He went 4-1, so he also was quite impressive when it came to that entry department. It was just the style of the game as well that I really enjoyed. I mean, it's Border. Yeah, Border opens up the map, and it's also where a team like Falcons and I guess Razah love that kind of style. Fast entry, fast pace, you know, on the move. You're never really staying in the same position all that often, whether it be defense or attack. And I'm hoping Lair can provide something similar, although I feel like maybe top floor isn't really going to bode too well with these teams. So maybe other sites on Lair can open up the map and we can get some of that fast-paced style, but it's certainly not going to be anything like Border. Now, the other thing to remember as well is that opening map was the pick of Falcons. It certainly is their kind of map. It's their bread and butter. Lair is the map pick for Razar Company. They will be attacking first up, and Falcons will be on the defense. I don't know really how this game's going to go. Now for Falcons, this is actually an elimination game.
And I think the thing about this map as well is obviously we haven't seen it from either of these two teams playing their way through groups, and so far at this point it has been played a fair bit in the tournament, and it's sort of a bit split, right? You know, the top two sites that you'd pick, the top floor and the bottom floor. Well, the first one is very heavily towards defenders, 61%, and then the bottom, well, that's actually currently for attackers, 53%. If you can be sharp on your attack, there's big ways to make big moves and sort of big motions in towards the side itself, and that is something that Falcons do very, very well. They'll sniff out an opportunity. You'll suddenly have 2-3 Falcons players sort of closing down on it, and well, you now have the test of Razah Company. Why are you here? What is your game here at this point? And is it good enough to be prepared for a trade game? Because if it isn't, Falcons are going to isolate you, they're going to execute you.
Yeah, I think that right now, for me, Falcons, it's all about the mindset, their mental. I said in the pre-show, that if this gets to Lair, having lost the first map, you know, this is where Falcons now, round by round, you know, if you lose the first couple of rounds, you're going to be like, oh no, we might actually be getting eliminated here from group stage. And so that's something that's going to be playing on their mind. They have to block that out. They just have to play their game and not be too worried about repercussions, because if you're worried about repercussions, you become naturally hesitant. Then you're not quite as confident. If you're not as confident, then you know Razar Company is going to be the far superior team. But Razar Company, they're one step away from finishing atop the group. And that itself is so much pressure on them as well. Like, don't get it twisted. I know it's opposite ends of the spectrum, Emmy, where one team is essentially fighting for their life and the other one's fighting for the heroics of finishing atop the group. But with that still comes that pressure. They don't want to fail. They don't want to fall short of a very significant achievement.
75% of you believe Razah Company will win this. That means 75% of you believe PSG will live on to get to phase 2. And that Razah Company will be another team confirmed at the top of the board. Falcons, the job is on you now to see if you can keep yours and Mena hopes alive here at Six Invitational 2025. What performance can you build up, as Xenox put it, about confidence? Confidence is key, and Monty isn't. Removed once again, and to be honest, you know, you've still got Blackbeard up, which was a big use for sort of Falcons there. I think we're going to see a fair amount more of that played on a map that is, for all intents and purposes, exploratory. We don't really know how these teams are going to hold it. We don't really know how you're going to answer questions, but having a man who can sort of walk in with a big metal shield and quickly get to a gun that obviously Falcons are very proficient with, we're going to be very happy to have it. The Grim was a bit of a good point for them as well, and the Kite juggle against some of these hard walls. Oh, I'm excited for a game here. Let us get in towards Lair. Once again, PSG Talon fans, you're not out of the woods yet. Falcons, they don't even need to win the series. They just need but one map.
One map is all that is required for Falcons, but if they lose this map, they are done. They are out of Six Invitational. There is no other series that can change that outcome or change that course of action. It's as simple as this. Falcons must win Lair, or they are going home. If they can win Lair, PSG Talon are going home. Regardless, Emmy, this is a straight-up elimination game, and we love those. Those are the most exciting. Those are the most fun. They're tantalizing. This is what everyone wants to sit back and watch and see who is going to be exiting from the Six Invitational. Is it Falcons, or is it PSG Talon? For Razah, you win this map, you go atop the group, and what a lead you begin with in Phase 2.
I mean, it wouldn't be a you and I cast without it getting to this.
This is going to 15 rounds.
There's something magic in the air.
Let's just skip forward.
Let's just skip forward. No, I want to see every single second, and it'll start here. Can Falcons lock themselves in? As I said before, there's a little bit back and forth in terms of how this map plays out, but this side up sort of top, you're looking at a very solid 61%. You can get decent responses towards the approaches. You can make sure that you have a full surround, a lot of fighting here. on the rocket main stairs that Hasham wants to be the first to step into. Razah, when you're approaching, you have the options of putting pressure over towards potentially green, getting the walkway, maybe getting operations, and then trying to crack your way across. And without a mirror, it's actually a lot easier. Usually you'll have that extension here, so you can keep a keen eye, but instead they've got to create it. With Jalad playing the keeper barricades and buying himself some second as support. Soft underneath means that, well, he's got multiple different angles and floors to keep an awareness on, and he's about to maybe be gifted the first fight. If they don't look up, well, they won't be looking anywhere else this round apart from through cams. I believe it's STK that is underneath there, maybe live. He's currently setting himself up a drone a few paces ahead, but I don't know how aware he is. They get themselves set in. If he steps forward, oh, he might be knocked back out. Surely they heard that. Well, they definitely want the fight.
It does reveal the location and what's being watched as well. I mean, Razah Company coming into Lair, it's their map pick. They should be very much aware of their surroundings, what to look out for, what to be ready for. Is Jalad just trying to keep ops locked down with these keeper barriers? Of course, he's still playing that vert as well, denying that walkway down below. The one thing, again, this is going to be a slower-paced game naturally. Lair versus Border goes without saying. I think there will be opportunities for both teams to obviously pick up the pace, but certainly, top floor, you're not going to see it. And I think a lot of the rounds you're going to get this kind of testing and, poking and prodding. Jalad just feels like he has to fall back and talk about the timing as Perez was just bowing down towards his location here on the Maverick. Nitrocell thrown out and shot out. It's just an aggressive entry Maverick here for Perez. Of course, he was so good on Border. Feels like he's up for the task, taking down Jalad on the Azami. 45 seconds, still a 5 versus 5. We had nothing like this on Border.
They scream their way up the walkway stairs and win the first engagement, but they're just going to have to try and throw themselves into sight. So Robbie sets himself on the first door, and, well, can the Azami follow through? Jalad suffers a bit, Robbie does as well, but they've still got the territory, the corners to work with here. The pressure on the breach is slowed and stopped by pretty much everything toxic in this game. The smoke will take a while to dissipate, and in that moment, well, he can't rotate off. He just has to sit and wait and maybe go for the dive. But Jalad sneaking his way around the back stairs. He gets the spray and he's covered by Fiastri. But they can't get the kit down because of Robbie on the watch. Gets knocked down. A 2 versus nobody. Falcons hold the line. I love the siren noise. That's the alert. That means Falcons are here.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, really good round from Falcons because of the way that Jalad played it. I think a lot of the round he's just delay, keep ops control, fall back, play sight. Robbie as well gets tagged up, plays behind the desk, but he's able to know full well where that kit's going to come from through the breach. It's a pretty much standardized default push. That's why there's Vulcan canisters. That's why the gas babes are being thrown there. And Robbie knows if he just stays alive, gets that one kill, that's going to be enough to change the course of the round. He does that. Really, really well played from Falcons to just fall back, play sight. It's Lair. You don't have to run around. You don't have to do anything too ultra creative. And I think that's a really good sign of a team. And we know Falcons have certainly different ways that they can play. It's why they're a top team in the world. That was better. On Border, there was a lot of times where they got sucked into that sort of early and mid-round fighting as Border likes to be, where they probably didn't have to get as aggressive as they were. And that just looked far more controlled. But that is also the best side on Lair when it comes to defending. So now, the next couple of rounds will test them a little bit more.
I mean, having a quick sort of scan through all of the maps, I think it's maybe, oh no, okay, 60%. It's far and away the best on this map itself. This one, for example, defense, only 46%. And, you kind of want to hit Bronze Briefing as the most balanced split. Nobody is really playing armory weapon maintenance at this point. So this is a chance for them to, if they get this locked down, certainly statistics actually start to work into their favor. Now, they're both preferring defense as teams go, but then you look at how Border played out, and you never know how teams are going to hit when they get together. Stats can often go out the window because you play the game ahead of you, and both these teams, they're kind of specialists at it. Their whole game, their sort of ethos of how they come into the Rainbow Six sort of matches and scene is, let's see what they're doing. Okay, let's respond. Let's be proactive. The Deimos, the chance at getting a drive-through on the fight. The Buck is doing a lot of damage to Robbie, force him back. Dove suffers as well, as I think Fiastri is taking a fight in the meantime. He's got the watch onto it, Flashtree, but he's not entirely being gifted the end of this. How long will you sit? How long will you wait?
It's like everyone's just like paused.
Take a breather.
Take a breather, yeah. Eventually throws out that boogie auto breacher. And 90 seconds again on the clock. 5v5. Lair already showing its pace differential compared to Border. It's Jalad. Opening pick onto Perez. That's a big, big kill onto the Deimos. Gets rid of the death marks. Less information provided for Razah. And more importantly, a player who was so good on Border.
That's it. You know, that they shut out the star of the roster. They're able to do a bit of this early damage to Deimos as well. Over this verticality is a bit of a cost and a play, and it's a big rotate here coming out with a minute left. Sure, the Ram and the Buck, they're getting some work done, but if you're not getting the kills on the back of the verticality, all you do is sort of spreading them out on what is a very wide floor. And you can see that Falcons are happy to play that game. They're sort of saying, yeah, you can have all that soft. You've still got to get down here and plant. We've played on retakes before. It hasn't always been successful. But you know, it's a strategy that they like to employ live. The Buck suffers next. A bit of a C4. Doesn't quite get the full pop out, but it scratches and fights, dances and blinds as they start to move their way in. There's the first. The pressure around the corner, clearing the utility, and the smoke drives them right into Jalad. Watching and waiting. The long fight does get revenge, but 20 seconds here and a 3 versus 3. They still have to cross the divide. Flashtree gets a couple on the back end, though, and SDK sticking the kit, going for the plant. It's a bit of motion. They're trying the retake, but this time it hasn't quite worked. Now, verticality, I said it wasn't really effective before. It is a nightmare to have to clear past live. He knows the engagement. He's keeping himself a little bit coy, a little bit distance from it for the first, but as Hasham goes down, Robbie with the secondary popped it round the corner. We are back level.
Yeah, we were looking at the stats before when it comes to labs, and it's a little bit more favored towards the attack, Emmy, and I think you can clearly see that in the way that that round was played. It's a strange one, typically seen as the sort of secondary site. Yeah, bunks and briefing you could, you know, kind of interchange, but yeah, that's the thing about Lair. You kind of got that one site that's really strong defensively, and then the other two are almost in that tertiary level. So, yeah, really good for Razar to get on the board. 1-1, and it's more to keep the pressure on Falcons, that mental and scoreboard pressure, right? Like, you don't want to allow them to get 2, then 3, and suddenly they're looking comfortable, and they're then closer to achieving their goal. A really solid round, and you lost Perez too early, and he was so good on Border, but it's Flashtree that stands up, gets a couple of kills. 1-1, all tied up. And I think it's just the nature of this particular map. It's going to play out like this. Strap yourselves in. Back and forth. There's 2 teams, not much separating them. I would not be shocked whatsoever if it ends up being another 8-7 either way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we predicted it. We knew it was very likely going to happen. And here we are, potentially finding ourselves screaming into it. And I think one of the things that sort of you can take away as a point of progress here for the side of Falcons is it's kind of spread out. They're all finding themselves into these engagements, apart from Hashon, but you know he can have his moments as well. In the meantime, I think that was maybe a 4K from Flashtree that round. It took a lot to drive them back into this. So it's not as sort of clear-cut as a round as it was. The plant was...
It was a 4K.
A big deciding factor, and that's it. And Flashtree, you know, coming into this, I think they're the second lowest rated player on the roster for them. Still positive KD, but still, you know, it's
not a big gap, though. It's not
a big gap.
Yeah, it's not like some teams, but the second worst rated player is like 20 to 25 EPS behind, you know, the rest.
Yeah,
it's pretty equal.
Start making rosters. But at the same time, it's a little bit more weighted. Currently, a 4K is not something you can convincingly build a round-winning strategy around every single time, and Razah will be just as aware of that here. A site that's a bit more 50-50. And now's the chance for Falcons to try and wrest some control back in, get a lockdown here. The first engagement might be a bit of a giveaway. They're able to get it. It felt a bit clean. We didn't truly get the taste of it. I don't even know if it was an outside peek, though. It wasn't the Deimos. It was probably vertical. I mean, he gets this one pretty clean as well. The C4 usage, but
close to shooting it.
We've seen it once already. There's a chance we'll see it again. Hasham has the C4 ready to go soon as well. Can they hunt Dove? He really was a tour de force player with Falcons on Border. STK finds Hasham. Maybe we won't see a C4 shot out this round, but will they try and push onto Flashtree? They're being patient. Not going to fight for the verticality guards, though. He might need a little bit of support. Jalad finds Perez. There goes SDK. Jalad gets a double. The fighter dove on the doorway as he takes a bit of damage. He's got some support here from Robbie, but they don't need to swing that fight right now. 3 of them are ready for this engagement. And you're almost sort of saying, Falcons, stop.
Well, it feels like Flash is probably going to need another 4K here if they're going to win this round. I know he's still got Pasetto up as well, but 45 seconds. This is looking like a Falcons round for all money. Although Dov, Jalad, both very, very low. So if you can find those players pretty early here into the next 30 seconds, there is a possibility, but there goes Flash Street. Pasetto does get one onto Jalad, but the numbers prevail for Falcons. They retake the lead on Lair. Edge forward, 2-1. Early days, but Falcons look quite settled here defensively on Lair.
2-1. Traded rounds back and forth, and this reopens the best defensive side on the map, Master, so this could very quickly turn into 3-1, and then to feel confident, as we said, that the splits of how these sides play out, they only really need one more from then on, and they can get themselves set up on their attack. Now, the worry is that statistically, in general, Razah have had a very strong defensive tournament. And if it's an unknown quantity, an unknown map, Razah can play into that. Whether it's a style that clashes, as we said, there's similarities between these two teams. It does put a little bit more statistical weight, a thumb on the proverbial scales for Razah here. But, said this round, if they play it the same way they did before, I mean, Falcons, they're good motion. It felt scrappy at the end, but I think Falcons knew the game and had done such a good job of wasting time.
Yeah, Falcons just need to start well here and keep the hope alive, the confidence alive. Nothing would have been worse than seeing Razar get, the first 3 opening rounds on the attack, because that's when just you feel as if it's all going against you. You can still see that team has belief, that confidence is there. They're very passionate when they do win that round. Everyone looks excited, and that's a big deal in what is a single map that's going to determine your life at this event. Sometimes the strategy can only do so much. You need to have those good vibes. We've seen teams at this tournament, Emmy, plenty of teams that haven't had those vibes, and eventually the strategy then falls apart as well.
Ooh,
oh, there you go. That's going to be good for the vibes. Perez falls again, and he was someone that had an impact, a very big impact on the first map. Not quite as much here. 2-4 now. Losing his life early, and so far as well, that's going to be 3 rounds running that Falcons have found that early kill on the defensive flare. That just helps you so much. It's a massive, massive map, and if you're down to 4 attackers, it's so difficult to then get map control and bully the defenders. It's the defenders now that are in control for the remainder of this round. Next kill so important for Razar Company.
Twice that it's been Jalad onto Perez as well, and that one definitely was a peek outside. It pre-fired the angle, then he thought, why not double dip, treat myself? Oh, I've killed who was one of their best players. And I mean, as I said before, it was likely this was going to go Falcons' way statistically, and now they have even more confidence. Because if it does get into the same territory of traded kills, traded blows, well, they have an extra body, Falcons. They're more than happy to make use of it. Now, though, it's down to Razah to see if they can isolate a single Falcons player, maybe try and level things up. It's obviously been about a minute since we last lost a player, and they've been able to have, realize some of their approach, but there's concerns about Green, concerns about somebody looping in behind them, and, well, concerns about Falcons just swinging for the fight. Robbie takes a bit of damage, doesn't take a little bit more, slips his way to a different fight. Will he lean in knowing the player was almost out of bullets? No, but there is a fight not too far away at the bottom of the stairs, and, I mean, we've seen big kills from these sort of plays against the vertical, but as Dove gets Flastry on the far side, a 5 versus 3, 5 versus 2. Sit.
Wow.
Put that one on socials.
Oh, you better win the round now.
Yeah.
You must win this round. You can't lose a 5v2 after saying sit. 35 seconds for Pasetto and Live to maybe put some egg on the face of Dov. It's going to take something very, very unlikely. Nitrocell was thrown out, misses. Pasetto still alive. Gaspay plus bullets does the job, leaves Live in a 1v4. No time remaining. Robbie puts an end to the round, and it's a 3-1 lead for Falcons. They're just starting to believe that they can find the escape route out of this group that doesn't lead with them heading home. 4 rounds away for Falcons.
The problem is, now they've got to go down to Lab again. We're actually going to have a time out here. Razah. They believe there's stuff to talk about, and to be honest, you know, it is their map. Their win conditions are known but to themselves, and they're testing themselves against a map that hasn't really been tested of Falcons, whether they've sort of played the gamble in. You know, if you see a team play a map at SI, they've prepared the map, right? That is just how things go.
Yeah, if you allow it through.
If they allow, like, nobody's, oops, I'm Lair. It happens for reasons, and Falcons are proving that reason right now. So Razah, taken by surprise by the game that Falcons have.
I believe that's from the other game.
Well, who's the other game currently? Space Station.
So that makes all of the sense in the world.
100% from the other game. I mean, there's been some vocal shouting from this, but I don't think those are the exact terms being used.
Or the accent.
Sit is a good one, though.
It is, yeah.
Sit.
3-1 lead,
Clean.
back to lab. This feels like a huge round now for Razah.
Yeah. And
Dov on the Skopos is interesting.
I mean, you know, he's playing a game pretty well right now. He was, again, a huge sort of player, a huge presence for Falcons on the first map. He kept on, not even if he was the one getting the kills, he was causing problems. He was getting the route through the team, and then, you know, that translates here on towards this map. That translates here on towards, yeah, play Skopos. Because what's it going to force Razah to do? Well, look at how Razah have been approaching. Quite slow, really. They're struggling to get a hold of things. If you suddenly have maybe something hidden away, maybe the chance to draw some attention, draw them away, and then teleport back down to the site and, you know, bait as much time as possible, then that difference of 20 seconds, even if it's that, and then your full strength on the site itself, fantastic for them. And then also it can operate as a bulletproof camera if you've got one buried down. And, you know, there's options here that will definitely stress Razah's approach. They need a bit more pace. The Dockerby might be the call and the chance of that, but being surrounded early on, he's about to find multiple Falcons players, and that is what I was talking about at the start of the map. They're so good at that.
I mean, that's just smoke as well. Well played from Gillette. He's having a really good performance here on Lair. You know, to go for that aggression with the SMG-11, you're playing an operator that needs to be alive late in the round. It's a risky play, but it pays off. You know, it's that risk versus reward. Gets rid of SDK. The Dockerby can be so useful on such a big map to find out information as to where the defenders are with the logic bomb. You lose that now. That's a big piece of utility. It's also another opening kill. 4 consecutive opening kills now for Falcons. They are dominating on the defense here, making it very difficult for Razah to ever find themselves in a position where they can be winning. Like, they haven't been winning these rounds.
Yeah, and they've been just shut out. So consistently, they're
constantly playing from behind.
Yeah, and they can't even get into the playstyle that they love as well. They're not fluid, they're not energetic, and they're struggling, for lack of a better word. And gotta give credit here to Falcons for stressing them so much. This is Razah's map. You wouldn't believe it.
Razah's map, the stress and fear that Falcons would be feeling, knowing if you lose this map, you're out of SI. And it's not showing on their faces or inside of the server. They look confident. They look as if this is just an inevitability that they are going to win this and they're going to secure their place in Phase 2. 60 seconds. Razah hasn't really also shown a lot when they're down a player. I need to see a little bit more confidence as well from Razah that they feel like they can bring these rounds back.
This is the player I talked about with Dov as well. He is happy to sit the top floor of the main stairs as Skopos, and you know, he's just drawing attention. He's drawing focus. There's 40 seconds, and they're not convinced they have full vertical, and it's just, again, too little too late. The vertical was a deciding factor last time. The kit went down pretty late. There's the pop of smoke canisters as the pressure is trying to find its way through, but remember, it was a flash-3 4K, and this time he flashes himself. Jalad does go down, and at some point you assume Dov is going to activate around the back, but suddenly 2 kills have come through, almost 3, but there's Dov. Gets flash-3, gets his presence known, but look at his teammates here, Xenox, both of them are down.
Yeah, I mean, that does mean Dov's technically in a 1 versus 3. 7 seconds, though, time, a good factor in favor of him, but no, full white, he didn't even get to see his attacker. He didn't even get to fight back. It was a wonderful flash. And Razah somehow pulled that round from absolutely nowhere. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I started saying, with what, 15 seconds left, I was writing in my notes, Razah were going to lose the round.
It was 9.
I literally have written here, slow pace Razah has cost them. But no, they get a couple of big kills. The downs work out perfectly. the execution into the site works out perfectly, and they get a crucial second attacking round.
Whew. I mean,
It's happening. It's going to be a banger.
it was.
Oh, we're not allowed to say that word.
No, we got in trouble. If our talent manager is listening, I won't call them bangers anymore. Let's call it mash, because this is everybody throwing themselves in. It was about 9 seconds left. They went for the flash drop there, and yeah, they convinced the round. And you know, it came down to a late push. It came down to last minutes. But even just in the motions they were making, and I'm only saying this specifically about Flashtree because he was the one we were watching, pulling back, flashing himself in that second when you've got 20 seconds, 25 seconds left after sort of juggling on a doorway and, you know, pulls out a trade kill afterwards. But it shows the stress on the side of Razah, right? The act of bouncing a flash around a corner is a specific action. The act of things getting quite late and quite loose with a team that usually has been quite succinct with those moments.
Yep.
But they pull around out. It's a precious second attack. Here is the site that was won before pretty handily by Falcons. They could very much set themselves up for the 4-2 setup here. Obviously, Razah's game is just ahead. They've already used the timeout.
The overall nature of this half has been pretty comfortable for Falcons, yet it's a 3-2 scoreline. If this ends up being 3-3, I don't think Falcons have actually fully imagined how much dominance they've actually had in this half. And they will be quite disappointed then with that scoreline going into the second half, where I think Razah will have probably more confidence in themselves to close this map out. This is a very important round. Falcons need that buffer, because attacking here on Lair isn't always going to be the easiest job. And if you can at least get that 2-round buffer, it gives you some room to breathe, figure things out on the attack, have a couple of rounds to just sort of test the waters. How are they playing? What operators? What sites do we need to bring this? If it's 3-3, you won't have that room. You won't have that breadth. Nitrosalt doesn't really do much.
I think
maybe anticipation of a rush through the breach, but doesn't happen. Oh, headshot from Dov, though. Shuts down Flashtree. As the logic bomb was ringing, puts that phone away, puts the gun up and finds the headshot. Maybe another one as well.
I mean, he has been, as I said before, the lifeline for Falcons, and he's trying to find more of an engagement. You're the Blackbeard, and we had talks about when to use the shield, when to sort of show him, when to fold him, and here's a moment where Dov's saying, yeah, no, come on, bring you back up. I'm ready for it. I know how you're going to try and approach this. Another call, but remember, this is just to get the verticality on the side, and he finds the Blackbeard. Can he find the third? Yes, he can! What an absolute force he is for Falcons! And now, taking this round on his back, it leaves just Perez and Brisetto. They get one, but without the verticality, they even look at the site, and they're going to be shut out. There's Robbie. And
Gotta keep going. Gotta pick up this pace. 30 seconds. You don't want to leave this down to the last 10 or so. Dov is low. This is winnable. You've got flashes. They've just got to back themselves in. Play off of each other as they are doing right now. In bunk, you've got one more smoke, 2 flashes. Smoke still up, almost dissipating. But as you mentioned before, Emmy, R6 room covered by Jalad. And you've still... Oh! Jalad no more! Perez puts a bullet between his eyes. That can get the plant down inside of bunks. Almost stopped. It will be stopped. Dov on a heater. 4 kills. And it will be 4 rounds for Falcons. A roller coaster of a round.
Dov is not done. What a way for him to rest that round into the favor of Falcons. I mean, you know, getting that opener. What a snappy shot. Then he finds the Blackbeard in the second shot. This, filthy. Then he goes onto the pressure on the Blackbeard. And obviously what we saw there before, the kills were fantastic. But the way he approached the engagement, he knew what was going to be happening. He turned towards approach the Dokkaebi. Then he's able to respond towards the Blackbeard as he felt and heard and knew the push was coming on the back of the call. That's when he went, well, they're not going to expect this move. And then gets the next huge performance. Technically, he didn't get the ace, but I think give it to him anyway.
I think just the ability of him to deny the plant coupled with the 4 kills overall is one of the more perfect kind of rounds that you can have without getting all 5 kills.
Oh, yeah.
That's basically the next best thing. And in such a crucial round where I think that 3-3 half would have had us going into the second half with Razah Company having their noses just in front, that gets denied. Now you got that buffer that I was talking about before. And suddenly you also have that momentum. In this 7th round, you can bring that in, and you're on the attack now. You can honestly go for broke in this round and try and get that 5-2 lead, which may then feel for Razah is a little out of reach. But on defense layer, top floor, this would be a steal if Falcons can go 5-2 up, and it puts an absolute immense amount of panic into the PSG Talon fans around the world.
It is a game of two halves, and Razah are good on their defense, but remember, they have used their timeout, and if Falcons can get an early grasp onto a round, be it this or the next, and put themselves in that 5-2 or 5-3 situation, that is terrifying to go up against and invigorating for Falcons. They get themselves the quick breach here, attention on towards the site and instantly pick up. There's not a swing because it's covered, but STK does find Hasham, and that was on the long watch on walkway.
And their first opening kill as well since the opening round.
Wow.
It's been a while for Razah Company. That's certainly one aspect of this map that they've been failing in. And fortunately as well, not just the opening kill, they get the next one too. So no Docker beat, no Blackbeard, and sets them up nicely here, of course, on one of the better sites when it comes to defending Lair. Where gas wave's still for Flash Tree, he opts to pull one out and throw it. And I think this is where for Razah, just don't make any mistakes. Don't do anything silly. Don't peek. Force them to push into you. Nitrocell will get shot out. With reflexes from guards. If Falcons can win this round, then that would be so big.
Oh, I would think the map would be done, but at this point here, obviously they've not got the Blackbeard. They've almost got
Surely
the cover,
that's
but
it.
yeah, Perez has it. But we, again, this is far and away the best site for defenders.
Yeah.
And you can sort of see why, how awkward it is to approach, the different crossfires that are just gifted towards the defense based on the setup. It's the only one where you're almost immediately entering and being watched from at least 2 different points, and that's what makes this site so strong. There's not a comfortable, this is our backs to the wall and we've got this position and we can get a crossfire with this position. No, 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 no. That's not what we do here. You can maybe try and get some stuff up underneath, but it's just...
Well, the half begins now.
Yeah.
Now the half begins. The next couple of rounds is where things are going to be really determining who's going to take this map. Suddenly Bunks and Brief, you've got Lab and Support. These are going to be the sites that are going to dictate a lot. Because if Razah can win both of those sites, guess what? Then R6 and Mazda opens back up again. What does that then mean? Likely to win that. Suddenly then it's 6-4. And opportunities to close the map out go the way of Razah. So for Falcons, very much important that they can steal, at least over this next rotation, at least one of these rounds. Get themselves to 5. Then if you can get another one, that's OT secured. So again, that's why I felt like getting that 4-2 advantage was so, so important. Because if they hadn't have got that, right now it would be a 4-3 lead in favor of Razah. It would be a long way back for the attacking team of Falcons. So they, at the very least, did a good job to close out the half. Razah do a great job, a standout job, considering it was flawless, to begin their half on defense. So far, only 2 attacking rounds have been found. And I think that's going to be the similar nature here in the second half. Falcons, of course, are a very good attacking team. We know that. But this map doesn't lend into their style of play as, say, a border.
Well, Pasetto is hoping somebody drifts by a drone hole shot. But we could be sitting here for days, and I don't think it would happen. So we'll assume they'll give up just as we should. And look elsewhere. See where the approach is coming through here. It's drove across the top, the main stairs. Steady sort of clear, but there's no contest currently for the top 2 floors that we can see so openly. There's 3 C4s, and that's the game that we're going to be playing. Mainly Dove. Probably rolling those boogie drones across. STK is sort of trying to take out as much as possible, but it's a very safe run back down here. They had the cover of Live, making sure that nobody was trying to sneak their way in towards the boat room and cut off that rotate. Pasetto is back at the drone hole. Again, still no gift, but at some point he's going to try and slip his way down these stairs. Again, these rotates, you can see Perez is making sure that the window is covered below. Razah, they're keeping a keen eye that every escape route is in a good position. He's drawing some attention. He'll probably pop that fire and slip away in about 15 seconds, maybe, because well, the danger is starting to pile up.
Again, the map just is not going to play in favor of a super fast-hitting attacking Falcons. Maybe on the site. They've just got too much work that they have to do. Oh, this is going to be a repel in. Is Besetto ready for it? It is going to be guards. Vulcan canister is popped, forces guards back. He doesn't continue to push forward. Light with the opening pick onto Dov, gets rid of the ram. Another drop down. Perez has got to find his kill onto Robbie. Robbie was absolutely out in the open. Nitrocell should get shot. No, he does get the down onto Robbie. Perez will peek and confirm it. No, he doesn't.
It's such a tough way to pick him back up, but it's drawn the Blackbeard away because now the Blackbeard has to cover Robbie, and now there's only a single fight. He's spraying. He's gone for the hop out. Surely the Blackbeard gets him, and he does. Bit of a risk there, but it's taken the positions that Falcons wanted to set up in and force them. Jalad makes sure that he keeps driving along. There's now the backup and the support, but 30 seconds. Ex-Kairos take a long, long time, and the call will come through. They've got to keep the vertical, so it turns into sort of a flat fight inside the site itself. Guards, where will you position? Well, apparently putting bullets through the heart of Besetto, and Hasham gets one before SDK gets two back with the fire on Jalad. Guards!
Can't plant. He has to push forward, Emmy. There's only 7 seconds left, and he's standing still because of the flames. SDK and Live will just know exactly where to aim their guns. He couldn't take one single step forward. We are tied at 4-4. Razah Company are 3 rounds away from sending Falcons home and claiming top position in this group.
Now, we are listening to jazz, and I promise you that is not the calm and soothing environment. This is maybe, I'm just casting this game, and this is maybe the most stressed I've been whilst listening to jazz. I have no stakes other than having a good time. And boy, let me tell you, I am having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, this is a fantastic series. It's what you want when you get to day 5 of SI group stage. You want these kind of matches because no one likes the dead rubbers. Particular groups have already got certain teams that have been eliminated, so then it's really only that battle for first or positioning. The fact that this is one map that affects 4 teams and their fate and in many different ways, whether it's first, whether it's last in the group, is just absolutely fascinating. And it's the way it's playing out. The 8-7 on the opening map. Fact is, Falcons were 1 round away from just winning the 1 map they needed. Now they are 3 rounds away from winning the 1 map they need. But so are Razah. This is what I said at the start of this particular show for this map, and in this match, I should say, is that if it gets to this point, having Falcons lost that opening map, now it's stressful. Now you have to take into account you could be going home in the next 20-30 minutes if you can't close this map out. So good luck keeping that out of your mind. You have to just force it away, focus on this particular map, and leave everything external behind. As Canadian would say, well, I can't repeat what Canadian would say,
but
follow his words.
Insert Canadian quote. Yeah, the fact that they made it land on labs as well, I mean, that's sort of the big worry right now. The basement site was the only one that, you know, they could get on their attack. It wasn't defended by Falcons successfully either time. Still, if this one can go into Raz's favor, will we start the crawl to the end? Falcons, whatever team talk they've just been able to have with mad skills, will it be the sweet song they needed to hear in their ear? They're ready to start going for the pressure on the breach. Now, the clash of Flash Streak, how they sort of position themselves, opting for a shield in what has been a heavy gun game, could either be a genius play or a mistake.
Could backfire. Yeah, I agree with you. To be fair, I like Clash on this map. I think there's a lot of good doorways and hallways that you can kind of block the attacking team and just deny a lot of space. You think about the map, it's a really big map, so anytime you can kind of deny space and area and keep map control for the defense is a good thing. Ashton with a cheeky little angle inside of security.
I mean, not a million miles away from the site, and that's sort of like an emergency drop that they use to get themselves back towards the site itself. That's what Hashom's hoping, but as Basetto
Another opening kill.
gets Robbie.
That's now 3 in a row after it was 5 in a row for Falcons.
Stopped the approach here. They wanted to try and go fast. Remember, that was how Falcons were so sort of in control on their attacks on border, and the play of the Legions, the repelling of the smokes and the clash, it's just been played against by Razah here. Guards. He's up towards the door itself. Hashom's on the back line again, waiting and hoping somebody goes for the hatch drop and they're able to get the freebie, but that's it. They're going to try and make it stick.
Goomine.
Can't. Repelled, and again, what a great play here, Razah. The time is just ticking and ticking and ticking.
Well, there's still 50 seconds. It's not like, you know, there's 10 or 20, but you've still got the clash that can get involved. So there's other obstacles that can come and meet this challenge face on against Falcons. Love the fact they're playing behind the clash as well. Gridlock Stinger's not ideal, and a big kill from Guards, of course, who now wants to go and get this plant inside of bunks. There is still a gas bait, but there are no nitro cells, and it looks like there's no denial. Oh, there is! Last second denial! Live got the kill! Perez follows up! Suddenly, Razah find themselves winning in this 9th round and look to maybe take the lead of this map. STK in Flashtree versus Hashom. He's got 20 seconds to do something miraculous for Falcons. Otherwise, Razah will be leading.
We said the clash would be a genius play or up in the air, and as it
that is
cooks,
bullying.
Hashom, at this point, there is nothing he can do a Goomine.
Oh, KK in the chat from STK. They are laughing at that. Razah are laughing at Falcons. Bullying them in the server and in the chat. And they lead 5-4, full well knowing they are 2 rounds away from sending their opponents out of Six Invitational.
I was complimenting it during the play, but it's just lineup decisions. I mean, production, they wanna start fights on social media, but the operator selection here from the side of Razah on sites like that where it could be 50-50 are so responsive. Falcons were bringing near identical lineups on border, and the snappiness of the Blackbeard still being able to find a kill as well. Guards under all that pressure, brilliant, getting themselves onto the plant. How close was that plant? I mean, as close as it could possibly get.
I thought
100%.
briefly he got it down.
100%.
And you get that down. I'm not saying it would have been an insta-win.
But then you have a Blackbeard with a shield up on the position, which they've played great before. You have closed down suddenly Hashom's position where he's being patient and waiting. Will net rewards as well, and the response from Razah. Goom mines, smokes, clash, slow down the drone game, obviously with the mute as well. Everything that they could sort of throw at them to mean that they'd have to step again and again and again just caused problem after problem after problem. Razah back towards an 100% success site for both teams across this showdown map so far. And a heavy defensive preference as well, probably above 60% now that we've had these rounds played out as well.
And this is the hard side.
Yeah.
So good luck. I mean, this could very well be 2 match points on the other side of it for Razah, or it could be a huge redemption for Falcons as they find the opening pick onto Flashtree, and that's just not any pick. That's the smoke that's off the board, Emmy. So no gas babes, which as we know on Master and R6, very good at stopping that default plant, that push in through the bridge, and a second foul onto STK. Falcons, where has this come from? Just wanting to make this match even more spicier. They find themselves with a 2-player advantage on the hardest site to attack into. Surely this can be their 5th round. And a lifeline.
Well, here's the chance at the break. The Blackbeard is instantly met with grenades, and there's going to be a Goo mine, but it's the cover of Guards. 5 versus 2. And now, the 2 remaining Razah players, Perez and Basetto, have everything to do. They're knocking on the doors of the site, and they're going for a bit of a rotate around the back because, well, they're so separate. Perez, his strike, if it's unknown, uncontested, could be big, but then where does he go? It's a long route and run back to the site itself. He slips on by the ace. It's going to be the first one he finds, but they hear it, and he still wins it out, Dov. gets dropped. He's going to keep pushing on, and Falcons response. Pressure, pressure, pressure. Up main stairs. Go towards the site. We know they're here, so let's try and shut down the other one. And he's behind 2 fights. Pacetto gets one more and not quite able to get it locked out. All down to Pacetto to swing on the closed door. They're going for the plant, but it's won out by Hasham, and Falcons tie us back up 5 apiece. Far from done.
Oh my goodness. 5-5. Falcons win on Master and R6, which will be repeated now by Razah. They have to. Statistically, the best site for defense, but they just lost it. So for Falcons, it's just about, can we do that again? And if you can, that's OT secured. That's match point secured. And I just had word Fabian, I think, maybe tuning in towards the end of this particular map. I sent him a message. And he is riding along the...
You're cruel.
Fantasy train of what is turning out to be a very, very tantalizing map and series.
Cruel and unusual.
Falcons fans and Talon fans alike right now, heart in mouth, as this map is coming to its conclusion. Round 11. Breakpoint winner of this round has got match point.
I don't want to breathe. I mean, it's just great Siege as well. It's so exciting. The stakes couldn't be higher at the biggest tournament of the year. And it just has to play out at this point. We come back to a site that was an 100% lock-in, and now it isn't. Tubarão is going to be on the field here. I think they're going to try and, you know, keep a little bit more of control on the sort of master wall even, but it's quick entrance underneath. They're going to push up green. They're opting for, oh, they look like they wanted to with guards and the pressure here. Hasham's there. It's again quick control. I don't think they're going to rush the site itself, but depending on where this clash gets to is where the cover will be. There's a shotgun that's tempting a fight round the corner of Hasham, but Hasham is in position now. If anyone tries to rotate round, well, he'll be watching on the right. He sits and he waits and allows the pressure to be open. No cover of the walkway. The Tubarão canisters and the bandit batteries. This is what I was talking about. A direct response to this. And now that wall is going to stay solid.
It's this moment here towards green stairs, though. Flashtree lost his life early in the last round on the smokes. They didn't have those gas babes. They weren't able to deny some of the entries. If Hasham pushes in and gets this kill, really opens up the site once again. Flashtree almost looks very tempted to go for some kind of swing, but he can't be the one to overswing and take the long fight. He needs to hold its close angle. You got a shotgun. You're playing smoke. Don't get tempted in. There's a minute and a half remaining. They need to push into you. That's the way that you are playing this round. It's a default setup. Bunker down onto the site with the clash. Hold your angles. They lose Pacetto, though. And that may tempt Flashtree into a swing. And Hasham's got a new position. Does get a very big tag onto Flashtree, but stays alive. Can get those gas babes out, and he does. Minute 20, but this is good for Falcons. Not only have you got the opening pick, but you're forcing out utility early in the round.
Now they got the wall open, I can assume, by the butt going in. They baited in another bandit trick.
Prone.
It allowed him to lock it in. There's the Blackbeard, and he's got the shield up, goes for the smoke cover, and he's able to get it! Somehow amongst the chaos! Falcons claw a couple of bodies back, but with a shield of SDK stepping into the space to try and just rebuff, slow, stop, 50 seconds. The two Razah players toe-to-toe, seeing if there's a bit of an adventurous Falcons player on the back end. It's a risk, and he turns his back at the worst times, your lad. Punishing Razah. It leaves SDK with maybe a gun. He'd run in a gun game. There's one, but 30 seconds means we sit once again on a map point that will dictate everything for Falcons.
I feel like we need some, this is not the time for jazz music. We need some tense music right here. And I honestly wouldn't even mind a little pause in the action. I see some headphones come off. This could be a tech pause.
Oh, did the ear cup come off?
Yeah, I think there might be an issue with the headphone here for Falcons, but they have secured match point, and OT has been confirmed.
So we have seen them excitedly sort of get up and you know, I don't know how long the headphone cable is, but it falls off now and again. I think the rev's sort of saying, like, you can't just get up and scream. I understand why they did it. You know, I was up and screaming. You were up and screaming. But
we're allowed to.
But the ear cup of his headphones fell off.
I think Fabian's making his way down there asking for a replay of the round.
They're like being held back. Like, let me through, let me through.
This is it for Falcons, right? I mean, they are 1 round away from securing their place in Phase 2 of the Six Invitational. That's SSG doing something very nice over on the other stream. Quite frankly, right now it does not matter, but this matchup matters a hell of a lot more. Falcons, 1 more round, and you will be sending PSG Talon home. And you will be playing in Phase 2.
And breathe.
And Razah will not get top spot in this group. So much riding on this 1 round.
Razah are not trying to repeat what has just happened. Instead, they are changing the site selection down to the basement.
And it seems like Falcons were actually ready for Master and R6 again.
Yep.
And so they've had to attack a repick. They go the Blitz, the Blackbeard, so
2
double shield
shields,
combo. And honestly, they can go very fast.
Lion,
Finker, Lion,
Dockerbee.
This could be hard and fast here from Falcons. They've got the buffer. They've got at least overtime secured, Emmy. So if they want, they can go for Falcons. Fast-paced gameplay. It is their style. They said it's their style. They said they would show them how to play fast. This could be the round in which they teach them a very valuable lesson.
How quickly Razah can respond to this. Guards and Dove, shoulder and shoulder, ready to explode into the side, and we are off into it. And the first fight is SDK, but it's back and forth, and it's a double kill from Dove. Oh! But he's locked down at 2 versus 2. They're able to hold themselves in, but Flastry keeps them going, and Hasham has a 1 versus 1 round the corner, but he's going to try and have to isolate one. He doesn't know about the man nearby, and
SDK.
now he's about to find out. There's the call, but does he think it's the player directly below?
SDK!
He does. SDK can't confirm. Hasham has the chance, the opportunity, the jiggle. It's a very narrow pillar either side, and there's nothing that Flastry can do to support the fight. So SDK
he runs.
goes the correct decision. He's out of there, gone, and now it's the drop on the hatch fight.
Force him to drop, play off of each other. You don't need to take the 1 versus 1. There's so much time. Really good recognition from SDK to know that he was in a bad spot in a 1v1. You're giving Hasham then 2 1v1s to clutch this round. Play together. Play as a duo. Flastry is low, so if you lost your life there as SDK, Hasham's in the better position, especially with the time factor. Has to get the kit, final logic bomb over a minute. There is still lots of time, and if they play too close together, he could get a quick transfer to get the 2 kills. Ultimately though, Razah, if they play this properly, we should be going to overtime. There's that logic bomb. Best of luck, Hasham. 1 versus 2 to make your mark and make your moment.
The player who helped put Mena on the region with his style of peaks is here to try and keep them fighting in stage 2 and a beyond potentially for SI 2025. The bullets flying their way over the shoulders. 40 seconds, loads of times. And he's hoping with the 6 bullets in his inventory he can catch it. But
Flastry's got the cross, so you don't need to peek if you're STK. He can't push the What a headshot though from Hasham! And suddenly, just suddenly now STK is stuck and waiting for his moment to peek and try and shut down Hasham.
He doesn't have the kit. It has to be an engagement, and he's more than ready for it. It is Hasham!
Oh my god!
Falcons! The series isn't over, but their run is on the up and up. PSG Talon will be eliminated during Phase 1. Falcons, their route to Phase 2 has not been on the straight and narrow, but boy, it ends up where it needs to be. Every single round was on the edge, and this is map 2. How do we go into the next one? I couldn't tell you. But Falcons survive.
I mean, Hasham makes his moment. That's his moment, one that he can cherish forever. And for what he has been able to do single-handedly for his team and for his team supporters, Falcons are going to Phase 2. And unfortunately, despite beating Team BDS today, it means that PSG Talon are eliminated from Six Invitational.
I speak for everybody. We need a break. Let's go back to 1 before we're back with map 3.
Available now.
Back it up, back it up. You need to get back to the realness, feel this. We take it back to the realness, feel this. We take it back to the realness, feel this.
Back it up, back it up.
You need to get back to the realness, feel this. We take it back to the realness, feel this. We take it back to the realness, feel this.
Back to the back to the back to the back to the back.
Take it back, take it back. Back it up, 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 back it up,
Back it up, back it up, back it up.
take it back, take it back. Back it up, back it up, back it up, back it up. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this.
Back it up, back it up.
Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this. Let me take it back to the realness, feel this.
Back to the back to the back to the back to the back.
It's about time.
One more song. You choose.
I've got just the one.
And now with 24 seconds left to go, Lair has to make a deep rotation, finding one though on the J, what a shot, and this is why he's the demon. Lair finding three!
Low HP bodies on each respective side. Uno, he's getting aggressive. That suppressor is shown. It might help you out a little bit, but oh my god! Good for one here, and should be onto Bullet.
Getting that plant down. Element for the box.
To the yellow pig as well! Yay for
And the
Element!
Psycho kill as well. They're just pushing for the fight. He's on the back end. But one versus one with a demon!
Excellent patience here from CAG. Shuri holding it down, taking some damage. Blaz sticking the plant, not falling off. He commits, and Shuri gets the down. Go to, so why not? Oh!
And if the overextension comes in from Lender, he might get a chance. Can he hit his shots? Yes! Lands the first, hits the second.
Do not die. Don't give them the 1v1. Oh, what have you done? You've died. C4 goes in. You do at this point. He can converge on his position. He's got to be ready for this. The ace has got a whip. He somehow does. Can finish this. Surely land the C4.
Shut down now by Newers. Wary about these frost mats that could be sitting under the windows as well as this angle below gym wall. Newers now the last man standing. He's good for 4 as well as the ace.
Two people have to come here and nothing to respond from Fatal. But can they get the case back down? Gomez taking a fight. He can hide. The case going back down though. He can run back up on it. Skimsy isn't alive any longer.
Ouais, choque-les. Choque-les. Ouais, choque-les. 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 Ouais, voilà ce qu'ils me disent. Les entends parler et ils maîtrisent. J'arrête que pour rafler la mise. Petit pas sur la piste. Et le succès, je l'ai pisté. Disent que la place du premier. Je fais monter la côté. Sur moi, tu mises gros. Tu connais déjà l'équipe. Ça criera au complot. Je prends le double, on est quitté. Je fais la magie des chiffres. La somme je la triple, la concurrence la dribble. Et le stade est en délire, ça fait choquer. J'arrive pour tous les choquer. Toute la foule elle est choquée. J'espère que t'es accroché. Gauche, droite, esquive rageux. Coach m'a rajouté du temps de jeu. Dans l'action, ouais je me sens en feu. Je suis on fire. Je fais la différence au compteur. Money time, ça shoot sur le buzzer. Je suis on fire. Choqué, j'arrive pour tous les choquer. Toute la foule elle est choquée. J'espère que t'es accroché. Choqué, j'arrive pour tous les choquer. Toute la foule elle est choquée. J'espère que t'es accroché.
and breathe. We have got to the other side of, well, at least that map and what's decided. But there's still things to decide. But what a map! What a map! What a series! What a way for Falcons to secure themselves on towards phase 2. And I mean, just, I love this game. I love doing this.
PSG don't.
PSG don't.
PSG hate this game right now.
Obviously, commiserations to PSG Talon.
And congratulations to Falcons.
And
I mean, they fought absolutely tooth and nail. And obviously, the series is not over. Need to make that very clear. We got another map.
Yeah, right.
We do have another map. But for Falcons, you know, they lost 8-7 on that, or 7-8 on the first map, right? So they came oh so close. It would have been an absolute heartbreaker if they had have got out of SI by losing this map in another close fashion. And honestly, Razah is going to be kicking themselves a little bit because they've also given up top spot in the group, right? So BDS have also now confirmed top spot. What a play from Hashim. Makes his moment in a 1 versus 2. Now, it's not as if they lost that round, it's not like it was 7-7, for instance, but it would have been OT. And I think Razah was starting to really cook towards the end of that particular map. So they really got the win at the right time for Falcons. They get that map. They now have the head-to-head versus PSG Talon. And with that, it means PSG Talon have been mathematically eliminated from Six Invitational. EDS, of course, now locked in for first. What this does now mean, Emmy, is they're fighting. I don't know exactly. I haven't actually done the maths, and we never do maths on stream. That's #1 rule as a caster.
Yeah.
There probably may be something worth fighting for on this final map, but by and large, what this means is 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in this group is going to be Dark Zero. Well, Dark Zero can't finish 2nd.
No.
So they'll drop to 3rd. And obviously for Falcons and for Razar Company.
So, as far as I know, and I'm sure Jesse is up there going to be like, Emmy's wrong. But as far as I know, and I feel pretty confident in this, if Falcons win this next map, that will put them on from the total. They'll get 3 points. They'll go up to 8. They'll have the head-to-head with Razah, but then it's like a sort of round difference thing, and that becomes a mini league.
Yeah, so the mini league between the 3 teams.
A million ways. You and I cannot calculate that right now because we need so much data.
Yeah.
Jesse J. Chick,
if Razah
please.
win this map, though, it simplifies things a little bit.
Exactly.
Because they'll get 2nd.
Yep, they will jump over the top. Falcons.
They very well could get 2nd either way.
Yeah,
in the mini league. Yeah, we just don't know that. It's very much like a backroom map.
Because everybody has beat everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
It's cyclical.
I'm not even going to bother.
Mini leagues.
Either way, you know, I think going into this map, the tension certainly will be relieved for Falcons because they've secured their position in phase 2.
Yep.
That in itself means they can be a little bit more comfortable. They look pretty chill right now. Look at Robbie.
I mean,
he's relaxed.
They've done technically the hard
Razah will
part.
be disappointed. And this is actually going to be a little bit of a test for Razah now because, like, you can't go into this, like, ult mode.
Yeah.
Give it up first. You're still fighting for 2nd. 2nd would be amazing for Razah. So they have to just make sure, okay, whatever. We lost Lair. Falcons are secured in phase 2. We don't care. We can still opt to finish 2nd. It's not first, but it's still pretty good.
But yeah, so that's the be all.
That's
and
the gist
end all.
of it. Yeah.
If Razah wins, they're in 2nd. If Falcons win, go to Jesse J. Chick or Sprabuni or someone clever's Twitter, and they'll have the answer for you.
I imagine it'll go.
Don't come here.
It'll at some point go on the Wikipedia in the next.
Someone's got to know it. Right, but hey, you and I, we have one more map of
We got a
Siege.
Skyscraper.
We got a Skyscraper.
It's another best of 3. That goes to 3 maps for us.
But like,
they're working us to the bone here. That's okay. We love this game. We head to Skyscraper between Falcons and Razah, and now the social predictions is quite split for this match. Falcons riding the high of securing phase 2. Razah Company, of course, riding the low of not being able to secure top spot in the group, but with a win here, of course, can still finish 2nd place. Falcons win, mini league, and all the maths that go behind it. Let's head into it. What's been a very, very fun series between these 2 teams, and hopefully it does end in a very fun fashion. I really hope we don't get like a 7-1 stomp now, and it's it's a bit of a dampener on the series as a whole. But it's been a tremendous showcase of what high pressure Siege can look like.
Yeah,
a team fighting for elimination, a team fighting for top spot. First map goes the distance. Second map for 7-5. Classic Siege match between these 2 that does end in a little bit of a dead rubber, but there's still stuff to fight for. So it's not exactly a completely dead map by any means. Clash Band out blitz as well, so some shields taken off the board. Kaid Grim to follow. Nothing too surprising with these bands. Falcons defending first as well. On Skyscraper is a good spot for them to start.
Yeah, I mean, let's get into it, right? Obviously, as you said, they get themselves the drive-through on the defense. The bans aren't anything too outrageous. Razah limiting the play of the clash. The blitz against from Falcons, but you know, they've played the blitz now. And again, they bring Blackbeard. Blackbeard's still on the board as well. I guess that's down to the options, but we do get Monty. We get a chance now for them to sort of stretch their legs and put some pressure in that shield game, and SDK immediately not wasting any time now that they're finally sort of allowed in across this series. Let's see what distance they can kind of go. We almost had a fuse. I'm going to hope that was a fuse shield, but we don't, so I'm not going to get too excited. I'm not entirely sure, actually. I know, obviously, Fresh usually keeps track on what operators have been played and who we're still yet to see. There'll definitely be ones that we haven't seen yet. But I haven't checked the data. I'll do that later.
I think there's been other more important things that we've had to cover.
There's almost this part of, like, obviously, you know, you and I have cast together for this week. I love Half to Bits. But we've had so many bangers, and I don't want...
Mash.
We've had so many mash, so much mash. And I don't want that to disappear. So we'll see what happens. There's a bandit trick here that's stopped by the stun from Zafir, and Guards gets the opener here on towards Basetto. The Thermite got at least one thing done, but nothing more than that. Now, at this point, with the man advantage, the defenders, I mean, they could probably try and pull themselves back, be a little bit tighter knit. It's a tricky one to clear. You always talk about with Skyscraper because it's so shoebox designed. It's boxes upon corners, upon little sort of set angles that you need to clear, and everything feels like there's 7 90-degree corners on the other side of it. I know that is mathematically impossible, but at the same time, it feels like it, and feelings matter too.
Yeah. And I think you'll probably find Falcons can now let loose a little bit. Skyscraper defense, I think, is at its best when you go for these kind of plays. And Hashem, well, the man of the hour after clutching out on Lair, gets the second kill of this round. Vendetta from Live does get his elimination. I'm going to ping Intel as SDK pushes forward on the Montang. Yeah, I think Falcons will treat Skyscraper as a bit of a playground on the defense. It's going to make it awfully annoying for Razar company. That mark goes out on to Dov. Dov, though, finds a kill on to Perez. Doesn't even really mind. The death mark is on his location, and Falcons very, very clinical. Very clinical to begin on Skyscraper defense, as expected.
Nice to see them cheering on to Robbie. But, I mean, we'll see how this continues to grow. I wish I had their energy, to be honest, right now.
I mean, look at the... I mean, like, it's not like Razah... Like, Razah's going to play phase 2, right? They've had an amazing group stage, but they look depressed right now.
I had a quick look to see what ops hadn't been played as of yet. There's 2 that say maybe missing data, and I'm not sure who that is, but at least Rook, Thunderbird, and Thorn haven't been played yet.
Of those, which one surprises you the most?
None of them. I mean,
maybe the Thorn.
Thorn is like very
niche.
Yeah. I mean, there was a period of time where that Thorn SMG was just an absolute machine, and then it sort of drifted off a little bit. There's better ways to leave Lair and trap. Ella's popped up more nowadays, and she'd spent a time sort of in a similar sort of role where you trade out. It seems like they want the stuns more than it. Nobody really dies in Razor Blooms unless things have gone really wrong. And, you know, I think Capcom has got the highest win rates as well in terms of all operators, so there's better traps to sort of leave. Yeah, 62% win rate for Capcan. Picks about 8% of the time. What a guy.
What a guy. What a trap.
All right, Falcons. First round, it's your defense on Skyscraper. Good. Let's see what they can build from it. Obviously, you know, it's been back and forth between these two teams. Very explosive energy over the opening 2 maps. And here is almost a similar conversation to the map before, where you're looking at the 4-2 halves. There's 2 sites where you should be very comfortable defending, and then usually Barbecue Kitchen is where you'd end up going next and struggling a bit. Some loose cannon teams like to enjoy the bedroom, but Hashem, well, his preference is outside on the balcony, getting some fresh air and putting bullets into Flastry. The Capitao is gone. Those hard breach charges that we're going to be utilizing that position are gone. So now Pesetto has a bit more mental maths to do about where he wants to put his Selmas.
Yeah, Perez does get one back, at least onto Robbie. Trying to just play the death mark at the moment is live, and Guard's just having a little standoff up above, but not really in a dangerous position. He's pretty comfortable. I'd like to see Razah try and get a little bit more aggressive here. You know, you're bringing the Montang. It's that slow push approach. I know it's Skyscraper. You got to push through these chokeholds. Understandable. And they've really come into this map quite flat to begin with, and you can't do that on the attack.
They seem tired. They seem frustrated. And yeah, after a long series like this has been, they've given it their all. But so has Falcons. And technically for Razah at this point, you know, there's still obviously stuff to play for. There's the chance at peeling their way further up and confirming themselves second.
Which is the thing with long series, though, is Falcons have got that energy boost. It's just naturally ingrained. You've just got yourself booked into phase 2, so you're feeling a little bit more up and about. You're on defense to begin, a bit more comfortable, especially on this map. Battle over towards house stairs, though. Live has to win this, and he does not. Nothing's going the way at the moment of Razah. Until that point, it's the Montang. Pulls out the pistol, finds the kill onto Guards, and with that, it's a 3 versus 3. Hello, Jalad. Can they get the pinch onto the Monty, though, and put SDK under an immense amount of pressure? Perez is there, watching and waiting, keeping Hashem locked in towards Exy, which still has a Nitro cell. Big kill from Dov. They finally deal with that house stairs push, though. Now down to the Montang and the Ash.
Well, the C4 doesn't quite net the kill. They're trying to find the way through, but it's just a crossfire you've walked into. And yeah, you've got 13 seconds left. He's low. You're checking high. Doesn't even matter because he's also behind you. 2 rounds in a row there for Falcons. It wasn't as convincing as the first.
Nice coordination, guys.
But he's right. Nice coordination, guys.
Yeah.
At the end there, they were able to sort of get themselves locked in. The Monty walking in and, you know, to a crossfire and a fire, and it just seemed like they were awkward.
I'm going to say this now, but there's a lot of teams at this event that I would imagine are not happy with Falcons not being eliminated. Because if you think about, I know PSG Talent just beat BDS, don't get me wrong, and they've had a good run towards the close of the group stage, but alas, fall short.
Yep.
Falcons is a team that has the quality to make main stage. They have the quality to go and have a deep run, and they are a danger team that you don't want to face, whether it's upper bracket, whether it's lower bracket. They've got that pace. A lot of teams can't necessarily deal with it. And I think they can also play a lot better than what they've done in this group stage. I don't think they are a quality of team that should ever be remotely grouped at Six Invitational. So if they can now, of course, they've gotten out of groups, refocus a lot of their energy towards phase 2 and not having that stress of a bit of a slow starting group stage and having to worry about getting out of groups, let alone topping their group, I think they could be a real dangerous team. It's like that pressure is just completely evaporated now.
I mean, I think... Yeah, they have that position, as you said. I mean, they've proven it recently at the Montreal Major. Falcons have that capabilities to do these.
Even SI last year. Like, I mean, this is a roster that has also a lot of experience, and that experience has clearly helped them in this particular scenario. This is also a good tester as well for Razar Company, if you want to kind of turn it back over to storylining for them, because this is a real taste of what Siege is going to be like in phase 2. You've got that taste nice and early in the group stage. Not all of your games in the group stage are as intense as this, with as much on the line. So you've at least gained a lot of that experience in a pretty quick, short span of time.
Balls start to come out. There's the pressure trying to make its way across. And as I said, this site is going to be the decider. But to be honest, the current energy, or lack thereof, Falcons are in a good position to get themselves 3-0 up. There is a lot of time left. And there's always still the possibility of showing themselves in, but they're playing like a team that has just won. And they kind of have. They've won the battle that they wanted, most importantly, as close and intense as it was. With some of the control here, some attention paid towards the top of the black stairs. They're going to see if they can try and formulate around Shrine, up their way across the terrace area and across the drum. But remember, it's the verticality they're trying to get control of. 1:20, and they've still not really been able to get anyone.
I mean, the one thing as well that might make PSG sleep a little bit better at night is if Falcons win this map, because then the 2-0 against BDS still wouldn't have been enough.
Yeah.
Oh, guards. Opening pick again for Falcons. I mean, they're just all over Razah company at the moment. And even Flashtree there on the rappel, just getting tagged up by Jalad towards Geisha. Where's the Geisha pressure? I mean, Razah have got players out on the balcony. Finally, Dov will go down. The first time you're on this map, 5-1. Guards very, very low. If not mine, just blocks his vision, forces him back outside, but that's not really where you want to be. At least a bit more of a scrap, and Razah really forcing the fight here in the third round, which is much better than, say, the opening two, as Flashtree does get a little peek in towards the site. Doesn't spot anything initially. And unfortunately for Razah Company, they still don't have enough top floor control. You've still got Jalad inside of Geisha. Yes, Perez over towards the mezzanine will go to contest. But Besetto's very, very low with the kit. He has to get that plant down. Jalad does spot one outside on the balcony. Nicely done, though, from Perez and Besetto to deal with that vertical pressure. And that vertical hold has now been eliminated. Falcons only with 2 on the first floor.
Well, that goes to 1, and he probably has just as much health here. Guards. We knew this one would be tricky, but with 10 seconds... just takes 1 moment, 1 kill, and 1 diffuser to be out of reach for this to be in their favor. In fact, now as they go for the plant, they're on the left side. He's going to pop up for the cover. It's hot pinged, and well, he can't win that fight out. They had a good idea there, Razah, of where he was, and that brings us 2-1. It's not the most outlandish position, but it's a bit late. There were some of the moments of the push. Obviously, it got quite chaotic. Around Geisha, you were sort of calling for the presence, wondering where it was, and when they got that first kill, they sort of stepped themselves in right into a Fenrir mine to a player just in the corner of Geisha, around the double window that was able to start spraying through. They were lucky to escape with their life.
Yep.
But it sort of shows that there's still these pockets of intel that Razah's company are struggling to get a proper read onto back. To no surprise, karaoke and tea room.
Very stock standard, isn't it, when it comes to Skyscraper being able to win out on the tertiary site, barbecue and kitchen.
I think we've only had 1 Skyscraper play throughout the entire group stage so far. Just had a quick look. Did you and I do that? I think we did. So remember
I believe so.
We talked about it.
We did.
We said
I brought it up at the time that it was the first time seeing it. Is this only the second time?
I mean, I'm having a quick... I'll double check this. It says on our stat thing that Dez creates and leads for us.
It's actually not even working for me right now.
Well,
Might have to go contact the boss.
Oh yeah. Maybe I won't trust this data. I'll double check. This could be the second time only. But either way, you know, it's really fallen out of favor. There was a period of time where Skyscraper was a very popular sort of at least tiebreaker map, and it's probably likely shown up multiple times as a potential tiebreaker, just we didn't get there in series. But otherwise, its rarity has made it a little bit of a statistical anomaly. Sometimes the preference on towards sites, we're just going to pull from regional data and see what the translation is. The first here is attempted control. Now remember last time, it was an early take on towards the opening player, and I mean, guards. Unstressed, chilled, moisturized in his lane and destroying hard breach charges. Whilst they're trying to step some control here, the Monties bring some focus onto Minibar. They want to swing out with a C4, but it's shot out. A split second before they're blown out of the site. They're covering the retreat, and Guards does well to escape with his life. Now, there isn't the entire team that's got out of there. And if Shom isn't found, although actually I say that, he moves via Shrine and he gets out of there. So now the entire team is gone. They've been able to pull a decent bit of utility in about 1:20 out of the approach here. So they attempted to flirt with the bottom of the stairs. It is watched by Dokkaby, but it doesn't matter. What a take from Jalad. Knew about SDK. And even though his role was, this is my post, I will defend my post. Oh no. I may as well have posted them bullets for how that went. Robbie gets another 5 versus 3. The Monty is trying to make their way towards the door of Geisha, but look at that setup on drum. They're just sort of forcing a position that is in no way under their control. Razah, they're hoping for a miracle more than trying to make one right now.
So far, the primary sites haven't been all comfortable, unfortunately, for Razah, but Perez getting rid of Dol at least opened things up a little bit, and Besetto finds himself in the middle of Tea Room. With that, he gets a little bit of information and maybe even the opportunity to find the plant, of which he goes for now. Nitrocell, though, will get him well and truly off of that plant, forces him out into the hallway where he is very much susceptible to these defenders. Very, very well played from Falcons. They are controlling these primary sites on Skyscraper oh so efficiently. And with that, they take themselves a 3-1 lead here on Skyscraper, putting themselves closer to setting up this little mini-league between themselves, Razar, and Dark Zero.
If you're a fan of math, get excited. Mini leagues. I mean, it's they beat them, a circle, round difference, yada yada. I said it before. I'll say it again. Don't you dare come knocking at our door for that. We'll cast the game. And I had a quick look and confirmed that there's only been 10 rounds of Skyscraper played before this point. It was potentially 6 times it was going to make its way through. Which is actually Nighthaven Labs it's the least picked, or the least through. Nighthaven Labs is 8, but it's usually been a lot earlier in the setup. 88 rounds for comparison of the chances played. So the data, although it comes into this as a 50-50 attack win loss sort of setup, kind of a little bit of a short data pool. Falcons, they can get themselves at least another one here. They'll feel at least content to 4-2. These are pretty standard setup at this point, and they've gone with a pretty similar hold. The extensions over the other side. It's kind of the pressure on Razah. See if they can break through the Ying, the chance at maybe Candelaing. They haven't always gone quick. They've attempted it a couple of times on border, but on the bigger, wider map, they tend to spend some time cooking first. And, well, I mean, right. Another one for Falcons.
Yeah, 5 opening kills for Falcons is really setting the tone on this defensive half. I mean, you're playing Skyscraper, and again, the similarities to Lair, if I want to bring that one back, is that in the first half, it was 5 opening kills for Falcons, which really set them up on their defensive side. The same is happening here as well on Skyscraper. It's showing the inability of Razah on the attack to break down defenders on these more defensive areas of these maps, and that is going to be something they have to work on moving into phase 2. You cannot be in a position whatsoever where you're constantly giving up these opening kills when you are attacking. Still, with a 1-player advantage, be Falcons. A bit more fighting happening earlier in this round, and Robbie will regain the 2-player advantage that they certainly got earlier. It's just Scrappy Siege here in the 5th round. Gelato with the shotgun shuts down Flashtree, who just can't get involved as he has in better portions of this series. Down to Pasetto. The hard breach up, finds himself in a 1 versus 3 with little chance. Hey, prone. Gelato, despite the elbow sticking out, he finds the head of his opponent on a very tight angle, and it's a 4-1 lead for Falcons.
That last engagement is almost sort of the translation of how this entire game is feeling between these two teams, right? Falcons, even though they were technically seen, and we're going to take a timeout, have some jazz.
Always time for jazz.
There's still stuff that's coming up in the all chat that is very funny. Falcons, I've got to give credit to them. Their trash talking is very creative. I think you said Pasetto, you named yourself after a song, question mark? And they're all having good times. But the jazz break, and the point I was sort of making is, although there was the elbow, although there was the opportunity, if we'd have had that in the last map, maybe in the map before, it feels like Razah would have been able to take it. The ability to respond and react to these things, but it just feels a bit more exhausted to play. Here, I mean, Dov's been brilliant all day. There's no denying the impact he has had on this series, and yeah, Pasetto just split second too late. What a 1. Falcons. At this rate, maybe it'll be 5-1. The timeout has been called. Razah knows that they need to sort of give themselves at least a second attack. And this was decent towards the end. It slowed down a bit in the middle. They struggled with direct eyes on towards Geisha, and they've actually changed the Geisha hold here. No more Fenrir, who I think is actually maybe one of the common picks. Most successful operators just got pages of data open now, and
Data, and you're like the new Jesse.
I wish. I'm not smart. He has like an economics and math degree. I did film. Really?
So in film, you can just pretend to be good
Oh, I'm, you know,
at economics.
I'm great at lying.
Exactly.
But 4-1, and I think Falcons just want to sort of keep this aggressive. The Solace maybe try and play against the plant. I think they realized how late and how much they struggled with the vertical control here. And I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Where was the checking on it? Where was the second player? Where was the
6 opening kills in a row for Falcons on defense, Sky, and it's going to set them up nicely here, even on the tertiary side. This is exactly what you want when you're playing Barbecue Kitchen. Get that early pick, fall back, play top floor. Now you've got less attackers that have to be dealt with as they're trying to, of course, clear essentially 2 floor levels. Flash not even winning in the peak battle on the rappel. He actually took some damage. Hands of Dov, and I think Razah, this thing has definitely gone out of this series, and
Yeah.
I don't know why, because you win this map, you still get second. And they've just looked far and away like the kind of team that feels as if this series doesn't matter anymore. And maybe there is a world which they know full well, something that we don't regarding the mini league. Maybe they get second anyway. I have no idea, but
there's always the potential.
you can guarantee it by winning this.
It's always worth noting as well, obviously, the sort of the setup of how teams go. Obviously, if you're first, you get the bye. Second, you get to pick someone who was third. You're still in the upper bracket. And fourth, you are underneath as well. And I don't know if they're at a risk of being fourth, and maybe that's the sort of thing. But it is also an experience, right? It's been a very long, very intense series, and Razah Company are the only roster coming into this tournament where every single player had never played in an SI before. It's a different environment, and there's 2 kills that have picked up a good response and a bite back in, but now it's a 2 versus 4. But not for very long. And as I was saying, you know, GDN was the only one previously who'd had experience at an SI, and it's a long week as well.
Yeah.
Right? A long week of games. They'll have a day off, then they're in on phase 2. And it's just been exhausting. And Falcons on the other side, still also a generally new and untested roster in SI. You've obviously had Jalad and Hasham have been here before. Eden as well, the analyst of the team. But Guards, Doverkin, Robbie and Mad Skills, their first sort of time, I believe, at SI. And it is a different monster invitational.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, you've seen that, I think, in this series alone, the stress that comes with it.
I'm stressed. All the time.
I'm not stressed anymore.
No,
The last round was very stressful, though, and we don't even have skin in the game. We're just kind of sitting along with the ride. We got the front row view, but yeah, 5-1 half. I mean, to be completely honest, it's Skyscraper. Skyscraper defense is very, very strong, and if you're not in the right frame of mind to attack into it, it's just going to look like this. It was a very much nothing half from Razah Company.
Yeah.
The only round they got was Barbecue Kitchen. And even in that round, it was still another opening kill for Falcons. This could have easily been a 6-0 half. Kind of what I said as well at the conclusion of play. I really didn't want this to be like a burnout map where we have this super high intense opening map on border, followed by a super high intense Lair, and then it's like...
Unfortunately, as proven by your title as the Timeout General, you have been gifted the gift of foresight, and you have correctly predicted that this has turned into a little bit of a...
Well, it can. Razah go on defense now. So Razah go defense, Skyscraper. There's every world in which they replicate what Falcons did. Seen this plenty of times. Skyscraper is that map. You know, you don't get too dissuaded by that scoreboard as a viewer and say, oh, it's 5-1, this is over. It's not. Razah can very well bring this back on defense.
For me, it has to come from them, though, right? These rounds haven't been anywhere near as competitive as what they're capable of. They feel like they're sitting back in their seats, and you want them to step up. You want them to find it, and, you know...
Well, they finally got an opening kill.
Yeah.
First time.
Exactly. Well, that's the stat that sort of backs it up, and maybe not just moving on to the defense, but the fact that, yeah, oh, we're on our defense now, we have that working for us, can help. They're about to come up behind Basetto and in front of him. There needs to be a bit of cover and support. There's the blind and the call on the player. The smoke canisters will buy him some time. He's actually going to operate within it, and they're watching for support as well. Jalad's position underneath with the Deimos, but it's a lot of utility gone. Ooh, Flustry, do you want the smoke? Dove does, gets live, gets the Monty though, and Didn't quite have the right angle to prevent that.
This is aggressive from Basetto. Taking on the battle against Jalad. It does get the kill. Pretty significant advantage right now for Razah. Dov a little bit too late to come back and get the trade, although maybe not too late at all because Basetto's still close by. This shotgun should down here, but that's a wonderful, wonderful reposition from Basetto to not play on the close angle for the swing. Swings out wide, gets the kill, and Razah get their first on defense.
All right, a couple of smiles. Something we haven't really had from the roster so far. That they're starting to come alive, and Falcons, to be honest, they could still get this done very quickly. It needs to happen here. I think if we get to 5-3 and suddenly you're eyeing up... Thanks, Ashen, I believe that was. If we start eyeing up the chance of 5-3, Razah, we're coming alive, we might find ourselves hurtling towards another OT. And there's a part of you that wants it because you want Razah to sort of get a bit of belief in themselves. As I said, they feel a bit dejected, a bit despondent with losing that previous map, with how intense it went. It came down to they were in a 2 versus 1 just to get themselves into OT.
Yeah, I mean, they've still got something to fight for. I would hope it would be very easy for them to find the will and the desire to fight back here on this map. And again, I don't think it's going to be overly difficult. Skyscraper defense, very sort of default chokehold power setups, not much the attacks can do. You don't have to be as mechanically gifted on this map. You don't have to do anything too crazy or extraordinary. So I think that they can be very well set up. It's going to come down to the tertiary sites, right? Because you lost 5-1 in the first half, Barbecue Kitchen's going to be what can determine this map. It could end up being a 7-4, 7-5 win for Falcons based on Barbecue Kitchen alone. That's when I'm going to start to believe. Right now, formalities. You win Tier and Karaoke, you'll probably win Office and Exhibition. Then we really get to see if Razah can bring this back. Live, looking for the peak, but forced off it by Robbie, which, by the way, I wanted to touch on him last round, but 14-28 in this entire series, and 1-4 on the entry leaves him at a 71 EPS. He is deep in the red. Fortunately, everyone else on the team is 100+ EPS, but Robbie, he's had one to forget in this series.
In the tournament, unfortunately for him, whatever system changed between now and Montreal is obviously one where Robbie is in a different role. He's not playing the entry, he's not the sort of drive, and maybe that's just between who the coach is behind the team. Now, obviously, they're sprayed back and forth. SDK takes a lot of damage.
You think the re-addition of Mad Skills has affected Robbie?
Well, I think obviously you go into a player who's had a long history with these players, and I'll get into this point in a second, as Dov is able to find one huge pressure onto SDK, but he's able to win it out against
Robbie,
the aforementioned player. There's a Monty with a bit of shoulder cover as Flastry is the next to suffer, and Falcons, what they're doing is trying to isolate that Geisha player, and there's a support that's attempting to come, but it can't quite get to him. So SDK, he's doing his best to hold off with Stan. Flastry is trying to move back into Shrine position. Basetto is there as well. Think about where they're stacking up and where the site is. Dov finally finds the end of SDK, and now they can sort of turn their back to this half, but they still have to cross a big divide of the map itself. And look at this, just the drop, the rotate. We lost our man, unfortunately, but we know where the site is.
Falcons with the extra player. They've still got that Montang as well available. Guards last time lost his life due to that cheeky vert angle towards Black Stairs. They'll be a little bit more careful and apprehensive this time into the final minute of the 8th round. And this would be a crucial round win for Falcons if they can find it on Office and Exhibition.
$40 seconds. A slow repositioning. Hasham getting himself underneath, getting himself angled and removing a C4. The intel game from Falcons has been very well read on how Razah likes to sort of set themselves up. They're always aware of the next potential ploy and play, and as they juggle outside the minibar side, the pressure still has to come here from Falcons, and what a swing! There's a big, big potential. Taken!
No way.
Basetto backed off, but buried. A player with Flastry getting guards, and just the amount of time wasted on the other side to the hold setup here cost the Falcons a bit too much. Hasham, well, he won a heroic 1 versus 2 at the end of the previous map. This one, not quite able to make it stick.
Drop the Monty. It's not working.
Yep.
It's not working. It hasn't worked for the last 2 rounds. I think that's also slowing them down a little bit, and they're putting too much false hope in the Montang. But that is some incredible shooting from Razar Company. Where was that on Lair? They could have maybe won this series 2-0 if they were hitting shots like that on Lair, because they certainly weren't. But yeah, they get themselves the primary site for the second round in a row, makes it 5-3. Now the real test will be Barbecuing Kitchen, as I said it before. But that is a round that should not have finished in that fashion. That's disappointing from Falcons, but they have locked in the Montaigne once again. I just don't feel like it's really been giving them enough benefit to warrant its selection. It's slowing them down. They're not playing off it properly. They're not gaining anything. The only thing where it would be really useful here on Barbecuing Kitchen is if it's the difference between you getting the actual diffuser on the ground or not. That's where I can understand the selection. But if you're not going to be able to use it in that fashion, of which honestly you could probably just bring the Blackbeard anyway to do something similar but better, then I think you should, at this point, switch off it, and it looks like they will.
Anyway, the point I was making once upon a time about Mad Skills is obviously he's taken a different, a more sort of active role behind the team, regardless of the reasonings. We can never really truly know. But remember that he is historically, you know, he was a player for Falcons once upon a time, alongside a lot of this roster, and coaches will try new things, have new ideas, and who's going to know what the players are more capable of than somebody who has played alongside them. Maybe he wanted to sort of wrest a bit of control of that and change things up. And you know, you're also the sole sort of, you know, import towards the MENA region and the roster and how it's played out here. It's a lot of stress to be somebody playing in an environment that is fresh and new, and I'd say they're just trying to find a way to get Robbie to fit in. He sort of found a lot of solo runs and moments here, but he said not quite had the same connection that he did with whatever the system was in Montreal. A minute pretty much gone. Early doors and early work here. This is that tertiary site, that place where suddenly this can all start to flip away. The first time here was won out by the attackers when it was Razah's chance. Then it came with a response. So this is Falcons well aware that they could try and push themselves in, because that added pressure of we are 6-3 up gives themselves so much to work with. Quick smoke play, and there's the charge. The Blackbeard is able to execute on the stairs. The big bit of map control is in their favor, because this is the connection, right?
Yeah, that's what you want. You want that Black Stairs control. Allows you to play both first floor, second floor. Good little rotate option. What Dolph does is his life. I was a little bit surprised as well. Double hard breach in this round. They lose the Maverick. We've still got the ace on the board, though no Selmas, so never mind. At 20. Despite Hasham getting Black Stairs control, they haven't really been able to do anything else so far, Falcons, in this round. You know, no smoke that they have to deal with, so gas babes aren't stalling them out. Really just angles that are being held right now by Razar Company, and they're proving to be enough of a deterrence for Falcons to push forward. Everyone's just kind of standing around, and again, it's like this has been somewhat of an issue from both teams here on Skyscraper. It's very stalled out attacks. Like both of these two teams desperately want to get back to the border where they can just run around a little bit more. But that's going to be an issue in the longer portion of this tournament.
Yep.
When you go up against these top teams, if you're going to attack like this on Skyscraper, you know, against like a phase, for instance, they will absolutely demolish you. Lovely cheeky little angle here from Flashtree. I don't think this is going to get checked, and he knows, oh well, someone just went on the drone. Robbie is having an all-time shocker in this series, but fortunately his teammates have usually been standing up, but not in this case. Not in this case, unless Hasham.
He gets one.
Does it again? Can he do it?
I mean, they're going for the plant. They did lose somebody else above, and they're not quite responding to the verticality, I say, as the C4 wins it out, and that is 3 in a row for Razah, and they are shouting.
But, like, why is Robbie going on drone there at, like, 50 seconds left in the round outside? Oh, there's questions here as to both teams attacking on this. It's been a little bit of an intriguing watch, considering the first two maps I felt was very high quality, but Skyscraper attacks here have just been largely poor. We've only had one successful attacking round win. That was on Barbecue Kitchen by Razar Company. And it might prove to be enough here. 5-4 now, tactical timeout called. Rightfully so by Falcons, because they've got to figure things out. I mean, their attacks also haven't been that great. Perez, by the way, just said in chat that Robbie is washed, and he referenced the 2-8.
And then Robbie said, indeed.
And Robbie also agrees he's washed.
There was also something that was said to Hasham in Portuguese that I'm not even going to try and say, because A, I don't understand it, and B, I don't want to butcher the language. But then Hasham didn't understand it either, and he just wrote, translate. But it's all upbeat, and I think we said it at the very start that the all chat has been very active in the showdown. But there is still a lot of respect between these two teams. There you go. There's a little brief taste of it. And, you know, I think at this point, 5-4, Razah, it shows that they're coming alive. As I said, they just didn't feel like there was any energy left in the tank. And suddenly maybe they've hit a bit of a second wind here as they start to potentially push this further and further, a bit deeper in towards this matchup. Obviously, they pull this at a site that has been 100% successful throughout this showdown so far, and then the game is even. In fact, coming into this, the split that we had on the previous play was that Exhibition Work Office was a 75% defensive success. Ariakity was 50%, but again, that is data from one game, so comes with a lot of asterisks and weight on the scales. 5-4. And now, as the pulse comes out, there is a lot of chance at catching loose ends. Dockerby, Deimos, and Lion is 3/5 of a nightmare to suffer.
Yeah, I mean, typically, but right now, Skyscraper attacking hasn't been much of a nightmare for the defenders. It's been pretty smooth sailing. I think Razah Company now actually in a pretty solid position. It's also why at 5-1, like, you're not seeing me say this one's over and Falcons, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I've watched enough Skyscraper in my time. I know what these scorelines can look like on defense. Skyscraper is just that kind of map. Falcons have had opportunities because they went first on defense. You've got that beautiful buffer, 5-1, pressure on the other team, but their attacks too have been slow, stalled out. The inability to find picks, the inability to clear out positions and then get map control. Like, nothing's working. Credit Razah Company for that, because they're not really making mistakes either. They're not going for silly runouts. They're not giving opportunities to Falcons. They're playing very concise siege, and it's certainly far more clinical from them compared to their first half on their attack. At the very least, though, they did get one round on Barbecue Kitchen. Robbie, with the logic bomb, needs to get involved, needs to start hitting some shots, he needs to find some form by the back end of this match so that he can at least take a little bit of form into phase 2. For those that have only maybe just tuned in for this map, a little reminder in terms of what's kind of taken place. Falcons have secured their place in phase 2. Razah can't get top 1. That's now BDS, and PSG Talent are on their way to the airport.
It's the vibes of,
also,
like,
you could just go back and watch
the vibes. Go back and watch it.
Oh, good shot from Flash Street. Jalad goes for the peak. I mean, at some point on the attack, with a minute left, someone probably has to go for some kind of peak, but there was no utility to try and push that position or put pressure on it. It's just a dry peak, gets punished. Razor again, looking cruisy.
Well, there's stress onto Perez's position, and he almost got gifted the fight, but think of how much is being dedicated here and how it hasn't netted anything. Another body gone. Now the flash comes and the Deimos tracked. It's just a little bit mistimed. The C4 bait, the play against it, pops a bit early, but the Deimos is thirsting for kills. Unfortunately, Live is there to protect a flawless. And, you know, I think Falcons tried to force a play there. Obviously, you said a lot of time had gone. It didn't seem like they had answers for the hold there that they expected at that point. They were stuck against the mirror window, stuck against the bodies inside Geisha. They were just sat waiting. And something does need to happen, sure, but that something wasn't the right thing. Hopping in against the position, you know, it's a rough round. It's a rough round, and it brings us back level.
I need a Kit Kat after this. I need a break. I need something.
Just sugar.
Just sugar and adrenaline.
Yeah. I mean, again, I know you highlighted, we'll go back and watch it. Please do go back. Even though the result is sort of dictated, how we got there, I said at the time.
It was a journey. A journey you had to be there to be on and enjoy and go for that ride. Certainly the first map, 8-7, came down to one round. And then, of course, it was won by Razar. And, I mean, Lair in itself was a movie. It was absolute cinema.
Still there. Still there, man. I'm still there.
Skyscraper is just the most, it's like you know what this map is like? It's day 2 of the EUL League or something. You know what I mean? Like, and it's just a Skyscraper 5-1. No one can attack, and everyone's just defending.
It's a 5-5, but I just I'm on a different planet, baby. I'm you know, we're so good to get here, and it's not that this is, you know, it's a different pace.
Well, Razah finished this off, you guarantee second. So again, they've got a little bit more to fight for. Falcons not so much, because I don't think there's any world in which they get surely above fourth. I don't see them doing well in that mini league.
Jump maybe one person. I don't know. Jess, Sprabuni, help.
Look, it would certainly be better for Falcons to at least just win it and put themselves in that conversation than not at all. So it's not as if these guys aren't fighting for anything, but the stakes have well and truly gone down from the first 2 maps, right? So it's a completely different tone, completely different vibe, and you can see that in the server. I mean, you think back to the first 2 maps, Emmy, and like after every round win, just screaming, everyone's like nuts. The vibes were well and truly being matched because of the intensity of what was up on grabs.
Yep.
That hasn't been the case here. Razar barely said anything and barely looked excited, and Falcons have already kind of done their job. They've secured safety. And it's just a classic Skyscraper. We're just along for the ride. You got to take the good with the bad, and we had a lot of good for those first 2 maps.
Immediately after this as well, game, we obviously have CAG versus Secret, which is a straight shootout.
Bang,
pretty much.
Straight back onto the roller coaster.
Straight back onto the roller coaster, which I'm sure Ace and Dez are going to give
they will ride that one beautifully
performance. And then you and I do face
CAG only need 1 map, right? So similar situation to Falcons.
Very similar, and I'm so excited again for that again. And then after that, it's FaZe and Furia. B stream, best stream, never before has seen. There's C4 that does get the catch. Can they get the trade? It's live, getting Robbie, but it's a trade back and forth with Hisham on the Blackbeard, ensuring that they at least keep it even. A second shield is still in play. Hey, you're right, the Monty hasn't worked, but the Blackbeard has been...
Monty's been awful. I mean, it's not guards specifically, but the Montang itself as an operator has no success at the moment on Skyscraper. Either it's just dying too early in rounds, it's having no impact, or no one's playing behind him properly. It's pick your poison, really. And with 40 seconds left again, the time becomes a factor for Falcons. It's stark contrast to the more open map of Border, where they're hitting site at around 1.5 minutes, whereas here there's 30 seconds left and you've still got so much work to do to hit in towards Office and Exhibition, double stack over towards Dragon. That's not going to work. It's too easy. Razah will be able to just train their sights on one location, and you've even got the flank potential with SDK coming in from behind. He'll get the easy kill. Round is basically done, you would hope. Surely, Hasham did find one, and now watching the flank, again, time is a huge factor here.
Yeah, 10 seconds. They realize it, so they're going to go for the 2 versus 1, but the C4 is the door they meet, and now they meet themselves here on map, and for the first time in what feels like days, series point. 6-5. It has been 5 rounds in a row here from the side of Razah, but if any side is going to fall away, if any position, it'll be the tertiary, whether we go back to barbecue. I assume so, because it was a success before. What can be changed here, potentially, from the side of Falcons? They are but 1 away from overtime. And then we find ourselves back in the mix, back in the meat. But for now, Razah, I mean, they have looked... You said it at the half, right? And it was very apt and very true, and always is. It's a game of 2 halves. Razah will have the defense. But for me and my money, the fact that they are looking excited about these engagements, they're looking active as well. The movements that they're making, yes, it's attack first defense, but look at how willing they are to step into firefights rather than just sort of
you know this is going to overtime, Emmy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm there.
I'm telling you right now. I'm the 4 site, 4 tallow, and barbecue kitchen, tertiary site. Falcons haven't looked remotely close to winning an attacking round.
No.
They will win this convincingly. Just watch.
What I might do after this game is concluded, if it ever does.
You're going to shake me and ask for a wish? Like one of those Magic 8 balls?
Yeah, I'm going to be like, can we do it? Can we just have another game? Like, we might even later. We get the rematch of last year's grand final.
I can't wait.
But I'm curious to see how many rounds of Siege all of us have individually sort
we
of
are
cast.
number 1.
I would put a decent swing in for number 1 as well. But anyway, we might, who knows? Falcons, they have the ability to get themselves back in. They've gone for a bit of a not going to say confusing lineup, but you know, playing the Thatcher alongside the sort of setup here, and you're thinking, okay, well, what are they going to try and do it? They had a great play on border with the Thatcher where they stopped things being thrown in, and they went for the sneaky plant. Maybe they can do that against the smoke canisters and get a charge in, but then who does the charge? Because you're playing with the Maverick, right? You're playing with any removal on the hard breach wall as well, and no pocket hard breach. So I'm curious how Jalad is going to be deployed. There's the push, the roll, and the pressure on, and oh, Jalad! Well, he gets a great take on, but then he's knocked right back off. There was a bit of a slowdown onto Flastry, but I don't really think he's the man that an EMP will affect too much. STK fishing for an answer, but it's Dove that get knocked down. The reveal of the player behind the sushi bar as Flastry gets 2, but Hasham inside the site levels things back up.
Yeah, but they don't have the kit right now. So even though you got the site control, you still got to find a way to hold it, and you haven't really held above. I mean, the diffuser's easily grabbable, and of course, then it's already in the site, so you can try and get it and plant it. But you got a minute, so clear above, because it could be very well being watched, hence why the initial death happened in the first place. So right now for Falcons, it's like, you've got site. We need to clear above. Above is more important than the site right now.
Well, they have a good lead on at least somebody. And oh, but they have one right back. SDK.
Hello, guys. You can't just be in the site if they haven't cleared above.
I mean, the kit seems a million miles away right now. Perez is watching up. The Candela's behind to get the motion. And Perez... Hello, Nate. You were looking the wrong way, buddy, but it puts us into a 2 versus 2. Look at guards. He's trying to make his way underneath as well. He's trying to draw the fight and the double angle as they just sort of spray, but they still haven't gone for the kit. The kit is behind them in the kitchen, and they have the vertical control right now. But they're trying to push the fight instead of going for the plant. And
go for it now.
I think they've said, Robbie said, look, I've got the cover. Go for it. Get in the smoke. Be covered. Now, there's 3 smokes still in pocket from Paceto. And he almost gets caught out by the run, but they don't stop the diffuser all the way around. They're up and they're off, and that could be the point of the fight. Robbie's
going to kill them both.
Left.
Oh, he drops. He had to kill them both. Forget the kit. There's 6 seconds. You can't get the plant. He needed to go for both kills. Instead, he's just done about nothing. Perez celebrating in the chat, and Razar Gaming Company will secure 2nd place in this group. It means for Falcons, while they do go phase 2, it will be in 4th.
That's rough. That is so rough. That is, if you don't know, instant lower bracket, and you will be fighting for your life every single game. But to be fair, if Falcons play it the same way they played these 2 opening maps, well, it is going to be something I am tuned in for. A great showdown between these 2 teams, proving their
fantastic
worth.
Series, absolutely fantastic series. I mean, it was a pleasure to cast this one with you. I think these 2 teams, especially in the first 2 maps, put on an absolute show. One where you can really look at the storylines, the results that come with it. You're unfortunately sad for PSG Talent. You're happy for Falcons, right? And obviously for BDS, they're ecstatic. They had topped this group.
Well, we'll go to a break before we're back to break down the series, and then probably go get a lot to eat.